Good to see you, everyone. My name is Robbie Howell, and it is time for another actual play, a post-Enclave Day actual play featuring 3 fantastic conduits who conduited during the event, and now it is time to get them on mission. If you guys wouldn't mind introducing yourselves in the order you joined the call, then we can go back around and introduce your characters. Xela, take it away.
Mike. Look, I typically have technical difficulties and have been playing Enclave since this past July, so we're coming up on a year. My characters play way too heavily to flavor, and I try to break shit.
Perfect. Tomáš.
Hello, I'm Tomáš. I'm a person that plays Enclave, and I have been doing so for about 18 months, so it's a pretty decent game, I have to say.
And lastly.
Yeah. Hello there, I'm Julian. I'm also a human, I think. And I've been playing this game for half a year now, and it's not let me escape either.
And with those perfect introductions out of the way, in that same order, characters.
I'm going to be playing Olivia Thompson, who may or may not still have her last name. She is recently married, so she plays a little different than if you've seen her. If in past recorded missions, I can't remember if she's been on any. Yeah, she still tends to try to fuck shit up, but in a different way now.
Perfect. And next, a character new to me.
I'm going to be playing Wituz today. Wituz is an old man and he's a wizard. He's the Greybeard class, which is a player-created class that has released this Enclave Day. Wituz is an old man, oftentimes confused, sometimes paying attention, but mostly not. And he's fond of birds.
Perfect. And lastly.
And today I'll be John again. Has been some time as far as the recorded missions go. Yeah, it's a Thane. It's one of the first characters I've ever built. And he's been around. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah, John is one of the characters that we have seen most often on actual plays, too. So he is becoming quite a recurring face. And with that, the focus words I got for this mission were 1, heightened sense of disorder, 2, upside down rain, and 3, in bold, Danny Crane? Danny Crane! And with that, I came to the following mission statement. You are being sent to a city called Enyd. This is something of a utopia. It is a place that has acquired near infinite energy and has a sleek, modern, futuristic, hydropunk aesthetic. Because Enyd never stops raining. It is a city of perpetual rain, and all of the technology and infrastructure functions off of the rain. All the electricity is hydroelectric. Most of the mechanisms here are powered by cisterns and rushing water, and the citizens have readily adjusted. It is often colloquially referred to as Downpour's Heart, especially by foreigners. Now, Enyd, for about 100 years, was relatively peaceful. But a couple years ago, there was a major scene during a substantial religious festival that started to brew discontent among the citizenry. While there is it is technically a theocracy, it's a theocracy that no one really believes in the religion that much anymore, and so it's just kind of a nominal power structure that's a holdover from the city's founder. This has resulted in increasing discontent to challenge the caste system that is in place, and this has resulted in something called the Umbrella Revolt. This is a series of major demonstrations and riots where every single protester carries an identical umbrella, matching the leader of the revolts, whose name is Nars Enyd. I will put it in chat. Nars is a faceless individual who is only known, literally the only pictures or media of Nars always has them, I say them because they also use a voice changer to conceal their voice, holding a plain whitish umbrella that obscures their entire body besides their feet and lower legs. And so when you're in a major revolt, like a major riot, and everyone has an identical umbrella, it's extremely hard to actually like figure out who's causing the problem. Meaning that the city's like visual security systems can't arrest people. What you guys are going to be doing today is going to a riot in full swing. This is a bad one, too. Like, people are dying in this riot on both sides. And in the midst of this, this riot, which was initiated and led by Nars themselves, probably, hard to tell, the Ishade enforcers have decided this is the chance that they are going to take to capture him. They're going to get him. And so the riot is being stormed by not only substantial enforcement units, but also the large Hydromancer contingents that are the backbone of much of the policing and like military in this area. So very impactful water mages with an infinite supply of water from the infinite rain. What's more, the entire riot is immediately being like encountering a serious problem because thanks to these Hydromancers, they were able to transform the rain into thick mist, meaning that no one can coordinate besides, of course, the police, who are able to see through the mist with specialty visors. Your goal is to find Nars Enyd amidst the anonymous crowd of identical umbrella-wielding rioters and make sure they escape, while being blitzed on all sides by authorities. You will be offered, but are not mandated to carry, identical umbrellas yourselves if you wish. Questions?
This setting has been featured on a mission previously, hasn't it?
Yes, it is. It was the first ever, Discord-style actual play.
Am I going to be suspicious, being an old man wizard with a bird and a hat?
Given that this is a somewhat futuristic setting, people here are rather cosmopolitan, and like outlandish outfits are not super uncommon here. And so honestly, you won't stand out particularly because most people are like scared for their lives in the midst of a dangerous riot.
Yep.
Can I get a TLDR on what the religion that the theocracy is based on is?
Sure. It is kind of how do I describe this? It's like a mealy-mouthed water is everything and everything is water, so God is probably water. But again, it's been very heavily diluted over the years, as like people have like moved away from the source of the religion and into kind of like the functional like, yes, water powers our society, so we probably had better keep this up in case this is the reason the rain always falls, sort of thing.
Yes. And are only the rioters carrying umbrellas?
Yes. Though, I will note, the authorities certainly have plants in the riot.
Okay.
Is there any, like, does the Enclave know whether or not the authorities would kill this man on sight, or is he to be taken in?
Taken in. Other questions?
Is there anything that would make them kill them on sight?
Yes, for sure. Specifically, if one of the things that has made the Umbrella Revolt so substantive is Ishade has extremely strict policies against carrying weapons, but when everyone has umbrellas, you can easily hide weapons. And so because of that, they typically have a policy of if you are seen brandishing a weapon, they are going to use lethal force against you. And if they identified Nars, saw them carrying a weapon, they would probably use lethal force, if nothing else, just to get rid of them. But capture preferable for them.
And that also very much applies to us. Brandishing, meaning holding the weapon in a hand in a way to use it, or brandishing
Yes.
in the means of carrying it?
Holding a weapon in means to use it. Because again, futuristic society, people have like novelty stuff all the time. And frankly, none of you guys would be holding anything that any of them would identify as like a worthwhile weapon on this mission. And so they wouldn't be like that spooked unless you were pointing it at them. Oh, of note, all of their local weapons are hydro-powered. So, again, they don't really register your stuff as being threats.
I mean, do they clock Liv's 2 separate knives as weapons?
If she were to brandish them, yeah, they'd be like, yeah, that could cut me.
Also, this is the point where I mentioned that John's weapons are all non-lethal in design, but all carry electric power
Yes.
for some reason or another.
Any final questions? Excellent. In that case, I say we proceed to assembly. Your character is brought through Enclave HQ to a beautiful, plush, well-furnished assembly room decorated only in shades of gray. Waiting for them is a faceless Enclave attendant ready to answer questions, 3 gleaming telepads, also John's motorcycle on a 4th, I should note, and also 3 identical umbrellas, waiting but not forced to take, optionally on a table in the center of the meeting room. In the same order you presented them, so Olivia, Wituz, and John, brief physical description and first actions you take upon entering the assembly room.
Yes. Liv is like 5'8", blonde hair, Englishy features, but slightly more tan than she probably should be at this point. For what she looks like. Her hair is like beach wavy and blonde. She's wearing a sari type outfit with seashell coloring and Aztec patterns on it. Enclave badge is conveniently hidden in the folds of it. She has a satchel. It no longer has buttons on it. It now is fairly plain and just like a crossbody satchel thing. Yeah, and she would go in and probably make tea and hopes that she doesn't puke this time when she teleports.
Wituz, physical description and first actions.
Okay, so Wituz is an old man, white, tall, broad shoulders. He's wearing a hat with wide brim robes, which used to be orange ones because he's the orange wizard. Yet after being worn for so long, most of the colors have bleached off. He has a very long, like mostly unkept beard, but he takes a little bit of care of it anyways. And yeah, brownish beard, no visible hair, just that. Also on his shoulder there's a bird, which happens to be a Eurasian hoop. Oh, I think it's pronounced. Yeah, I have no idea. Hoopo. And he has a graven staff in his hand as well.
Marvelous.
So he sort of stumbles into the room. It almost seems like by accident. Just kind of like walking in and is talking to the bird and feeding it acorns. And he notices Liv sitting at a conference table, right?
Mm-hmm.
She is making tea because she's aware that she's probably going to puke again and is like, fuck.
Oh, greetings. Name is Vituarius. Nice to meet you.
Also, Wituz would also notice that Liv is visibly pregnant.
Yeah. Second trimester at this point.
I'm not sure if he would realize anyways.
That is a reasonable thing for him to not realize.
I'm going to say he's not necessarily like human in the traditional sense. So
sure, that is perfectly fine. And John, physical description and first actions.
So John is a tall, like military man kind of man. He has the wake like split between an actual uniform or a onesie type pajama sort of uniform that's known among the sci-fi people as a military uniform. And he comes in with like the only thing that distinguishes it a bit is a very long, like it's a belt with a bunch of pouches on it. And he has green eyes and very long brown hair and beard that are both in individual braids. He comes in, he's carrying a somewhat big riot shield, places that down somewhere along the wall. Mm-hmm. Right then, people. Nice to meet you. I am John. And starts hand outreached Liv first. Like, faced for a second about the obvious pregnancy, but then tries to regain his composure and reach again.
Yeah.
Kind of waiting.
Liv reaches out a hand and says, "Hey, I'm Olivia. Nice to meet you."
Well, hello there. Turns around to Wituz, hand outstretched.
He just kind of starts like, "Oh, greetings. Can I interest you in an acorn?" As he's been feeding the bird.
John just turns his hand around into the like, I shall take it, and then he'll fidget around with the acorn for a while.
He gives John one acorn and then proceeds to eat the next one, somehow being able to crack it with his teeth.
Liv at this point would have a question for the attendant.
Yeah.
And she would turn to the attendant and be like, so water religion, what's the stance on pregnancy in people? Because, like, my water religion is very pro-pregnancy.
And the attendant would say, by an older literalist reading of the canon, pregnancy is seen as being very significant and sacred. By the more modern, looser interpretation, it is not necessarily codified or canonized as anything particularly substantial beyond the natural degree to which humans are inclined to support and care for pregnant individuals.
Wituz is nodding enthusiastically as he's observing an umbrella and wondering what the hell the thing does.
What would Olivia do from here?
She really wants to, she's going to get the umbrella, but is there any way I could kind of combine it with the walking stick and, like, make the umbrella do the walking stick thing for this mission?
You know what? That's actually really, really sick, and I should have thought of that. I will say that the umbrella can do the walking stick thing for the mission.
Vibes.
I'm okay.
Can
with
it
that.
also do the Graven stuff thing?
If Wituz would take it, then yes. I am
not sure.
That's the big one, right? Is would you actually take it?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
What color is it?
It's off-white and kind of cloudy patterned.
Well, that doesn't match with his robes, so...
Yes, indeed.
Liv, as an art teacher, appreciates his, like, consistent aesthetic.
And, John, any follow-ups from you as Olivia is asking this question and acquiring an umbrella?
I think he wouldn't either. Like, he was thinking for a bit on how he would, like, put it on top of the bastard sword he has, but... It's probably easier to blend in with the authorities as a sort of mercenary type than running around with an umbrella.
Can I have an out-of-character question?
Sure.
Would we be identified as enemies of the protesters, not having an umbrella?
So the protesters might target John without an umbrella, but the others, no, you look like civilians. And John doesn't look a lot like the local authorities, so they'd be, like, very suspicious, but wouldn't just, like, throw a brick at his head or something immediately, you know?
Okay.
Other actions you guys would like to take in assembly, especially after Liv's question?
Wituz realizes he forgot to offer an acorn to Liv. Oh, I'm sorry. Where are my mentors? Do you want one as well?
Liv smiles and nods and, like, slips it into her satchel.
Perfect. Would she be drinking tea at this point?
Oh, she is drinking ginger tea right now.
Yes, indeed. Calming her poor stomach.
It's not that it's actively, like, still getting ill. It's that she's gotten ill both times she's transported since being pregnant. She's like, oh,
Yeah,
I at least want
indeed.
something that's not going to suck coming back up.
Quite. And if nothing else, second trimester tends to be less bad. First trimester
True.
is awful. Second trimester, not so bad.
Yeah, no, Bestie just went through this.
Yep.
Baby's doing 2 months. Hype.
Excellent. John, any other actions you would like to take from here?
Not really, no.
In that case, the Enclave attendant would turn on a heel and stride from the room, and the telepads would spring into life. Final actions before ping out.
Wituz needs.
Oh, go.
Wituz needs to observe someone go onto the telepath to realize that's what he's supposed to do. So he's just turning around.
Liv's gonna knock back the rest of her tea and walk to the telepath.
Absolutely.
Time to go.
And John.
John flipping a coin in his head. Who of these people need more help at the moment is probably gonna land on Wituz and will try to guide him towards the telepath. Sort of, it's gonna be all right. We will fine. We will be fine.
So, I'm gonna say Wituz was kind of looking in a way the attendant left, like wondering should we go after. And then John comes over. Oh, of course we shall be fine. We are always fine. This is gonna be an excellent mission. Yes. And steps onto the telepath.
And as you all take your places, you feel your bodies begin to dissociate. The tingling beginning at your toes, your legs falling asleep, hitting your stomach and your guts churn, hitting your chest and your heart flutters, hitting your eyes and your vision explodes into color and the world falls away. And when it returns, you immediately feel heavy rain on your face, though very, very little wind, and the rain is relatively warm, and you are surrounded by the screaming cacophony of a riot in swing. Of note, it is extremely foggy, but the fog is utterly bizarre. Though it is raining, you don't hear the rain hitting the ground. The rain stops before it hits the ground, and that makes the fog. Additionally, though it is foggy and visibility is very poor, there are people all around you, though very few looking at you. You are standing outside of a beautiful, sleek cafe of some kind, or like an outdoor seating restaurant, though many of the tables have been turned over and a window is broken. The aesthetics here are very much like, how to describe this? Imagine someone in the 1920s thinking about what a city in the 2020s would look like. But like with a lot more water. And literally everywhere you look, there are canals and like elegant gutters that are feeding water down and fountains frickin' everywhere. Every building practically has a fountain out front of it. And though there is room for a motorcycle, this place is not built for cars. They clearly don't have anything of the nature. And the canals always have the bridges, and though you do not see boats, the canals tend to be quite small and narrow. Not like Venice, but like sidewalk or like double sidewalk with canals. Immediately on pinging in, the other thing that you would notice is that in this kind of cafe area, there are a couple of cowering people, especially inside of the cafe, with no umbrellas. Immediate actions upon porting in, we will begin with John. Pardon the screaming child in the background.
Taking a second to look around and think about things, he will immediately latch onto the people sitting around. Do you not have somewhere else to be? I would think this is not a pleasant time to be around here.
And as you say that, you can see that a woman in like a cute little uniform that matches the color scheme of the sign for the cafe says, they've blocked every way out. They're trying to get him. They're trying to get him.
All right then. Is there at least a safer place inside?
Yes, but... And she points out, we're trying to see if anyone's gonna come in and hide, you know?
Right, you're doing your duty. That is all right, I guess, though. Please keep yourself safe.
And she nods, though you can see that some of the other people who are cowering are clearly looking out the window, excited to see what's going on, as well as nominally trying to help people. That said, as John says, there's follow-ups from him that he'd like to take.
So, shall I take any of the two of you somewhere before I ride off?
Saying to the group, immediate actions from Olivia, including before and after John's question.
Liv arrives, and she's still like disoriented, but I think she can like manage to keep it together this time.
Yeah.
Although definitely teleporting is less comfortable while pregnant.
Stomach churns, baby kicks you in the ribs.
Yeah,
Keep it down this time.
100%. She's like, okay, now she's engaging. And so she looks around, and she notes the people in the cafe, but I'd like her to do like a bigger observation of the setting with her 2 sensory.
Yeah, absolutely. Next to the cafe, there's a fashion boutique in a similar state, though with fewer people, if any, inside of it. All of the storefronts, by the way, are kind of like separated by their own little boxes by canals. Boxes is not right. It's like they're rounded corners, but they're kind of all their own little islands, but they're all crisscrossed and linked by these beautiful little footbridges, and all of them feed in to a bigger square where the major riot seems to be happening, which is littered with fountains and seating areas, but all in various states of disarray, of course. So you have this clothing boutique to one side. And to the other side, it might be an apartment building, or it might just be like office space. Not entirely sure. It's not the sort of thing Olivia would be able to process about this strange foreign environment. The clothing boutique is easy enough because of the stuff in the window. Beyond that, she can only make out the shapes of buildings. She would see that the kind of square that you guys are in is substantial. It's like the size of a full city block, though again, rounded in nature. And she would also be able to make out like at least one larger artery leading out of the thing, but again, through the fog, it's very hard to discern exactly what's going on over there. There is tons of movement out in the square. The one thing that she wouldn't see would be any sort of fire or Molotov or anything. That's not really how the riots happen out here. But she would see things like, for example, people going over to fountains to like fill up canisters or containers and then like running back into the crowd. All of them all the time carrying their umbrellas. Actions she would like to take upon making this sweeping observation.
I think she would probably go, like, I don't know if she'd address the other 2 people, but she's gonna go try to like integrate into the riot.
Certainly. Is she taking out her umbrella?
Yes, she's taking out the umbrella, putting it up, and
would she respond to John?
She would look to John and be like, I think I'll find my own way. I don't wish to be conspicuous at this time.
And as she makes her way over into the square, Wituz, first actions upon entering, and then John's question.
Takes the bird off his shoulder, pets it gently across the neck, and says, "Okay, friend, I think it's going to be better if they won't see you." And lifts his head up, puts the bird on top of his head, and hides the bird. Then proceeds to look around. No pluses to sensory, but just sort of like wandering, taking in the scenery. Vitus very much enjoys watching people do things. He doesn't understand what they mean, but that's fine.
The rain is beautiful, though the fact that it doesn't patter against the ground is strange. And the way that the water splashes through the endless canals is very satisfying, kind of like a child at a water table sort of thing. As well as the fountains spraying and spewing everywhere. Though, of course, most of the ambient water sounds are blocked out by the sounds of screaming and yelling and rioting. Other things that Wituz's attention would be drawn to.
He gets the pipe, looking at how the rain doesn't hit all the way to the ground and just sort of like becomes fog. Takes a puff of the pipe and just, that's interesting. Proceeds to just observe.
And when John's question comes to him, what would he respond with?
Oh, no, thank you. I think I will wander on my own. Hopefully end up someplace that's going to be useful.
And with your team splitting up, John, actions you'd like to take?
Well, he is gonna look around, 1 plus to sensory, for something like a command post or a command tent even.
Yep, certainly. And taking a brief scan, there are certainly none close. You would make out the faint outline of one of the arteries leading out of the square, so at a guess, that could be a direction of one. But given the rapid escalating nature of the riot, it is fully possible that if they have a command post, it would be like a vehicle or something mobile, based on what John's background would probably be more familiar with.
Yeah. But there's nothing like that inside.
Yeah, at least not from your current vantage point through the mist.
Yeah. Like, is there a way to get up legally? Like, is there a platform somewhere or a ladder?
That's an excellent question. You can see that most of the buildings are kind of stacked upon each other, and are often accessed from the outside. So, like the cafe that you guys are looking at, it has another business on the story above it and an external staircase leading up to it, as well as presumably an internal one.
It's like, then he would look for the thing that gets him the highest.
Yep, certainly.
Of that.
Like the highest, quickest from here.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, so in that way, he'd probably be taking the external staircase. As he makes his way up, two things he notes. First of all, as he comes higher above ground level, the fog immediately becomes way less of a problem. It seems to be very localized to ground level. Second thing he would notice is that there are lots of things up in the air. The best way I could describe these would be hovercraft. Some sort of like interesting, flat, sleek vehicles that power themselves, kind of like those novelty water jetpacks. You know what I mean? And so they're just kind of like launching themselves into the air and hovering at a set height. There's like 5 or 6 of them that are like scanning above the riot area, as well as like different styles of hovercraft that keep closer to the ground that are like parked in position ways away from like the main arteries. What would John do as he reaches his vantage point? He can get a little higher if he wants to go to a 3rd story.
By climbing or by taking a stair?
Stairs again.
Case. Well, then he will just walk up as far as that route will take him, basically.
Yeah, 3rd story is the highest he can get from this vantage point. He would see that the square has 3 exits, like 3 main exits, all of which are heavily barricaded, though the barricades are all pushing in steadily to like try to completely crush the riot into this square and presumably from there disperse it.
And those are like physical barriers.
The barriers seem to actually be hovercraft vehicles that actually have like pop-out walls, and they are flanked by presumably like armed police soldiers. You can't make out the hydromancers from this distance. Presumably they wear the same uniforms. But you can see the work of the hydromancers very clearly, not only with how the mist kind of concentrates and balls and like keeps away from the main line of the police as they're pushing in, but also the occasional jets of water that go lancing into the fog.
Then he would still be looking for a command center, but that's probably one of the hovercraft up above.
Yeah, at a guess that would probably be the case. They look like they're coordinative. They don't seem to have weapons.
From up here, does it feel like the place is filled to the point where riding a motorcycle wouldn't unnecessarily endanger people?
You could probably pull it off, especially because the motorcycle is loud enough that it would be heard over the crowd. And your skill stat is what?
3 pluses.
Yeah, you're good. If you wait much longer, it would get crowded to the point that you would probably start sideswiping people.
Well, he's gonna go back down. Pick one of those wall barrier type vehicles.
Yeah.
Figure out where he would try and figure out where he would need to place the motorcycle so he can do something about that in approximately 15 minutes.
Nice. Do you want to go for the closest one to you?
Yeah.
And
if there's no difference between them from what he's seen up above, then yes, the closest one.
Yep. They do seem to be relatively similar. And in terms of positioning the motorcycle, are you going to be driving it out, or are you just going to be kind of like leaving it in a close, like an easy location where you can hop on it and zoom?
Yes, that would be the intention. The secondary, the
nice.
latter one.
And from there, what would you like to do?
Then he's just gonna walk into the crowd a bit and see how that treats him.
Certainly. As John is doing so, Olivia, umbrella up and making your way out into the square, you are immediately greeted by like a thronging mass of people. Now, you are bumped and shoved, but you are never like bodied or tackled.
Yes.
It would certainly be the roughest Olivia would have been treated in quite a long time at this point. But you can immediately not only pick up on the blind panic of most of the people in the crowd, like they probably had a plan going into it, but did not expect it to be going this far south. But you can also see many people of the crowd are fleeing and retreating, like in some cases throwing aside their umbrellas and running into nearby businesses to seek refuge.
Yeah. She is specifically looking for someone in the crowd using the sensory and her, I think this version has 1+, B1 has 1+ the spirit, for someone who feels less panicked. Like, again, with 1+, she's not going to get very specific vibes. I'm just going for not super panicked.
Yep, absolutely. You can definitely pick out quite a few people who are not sprinting around like headless chickens. And so are you going for someone who is like not doing anything substantial and is standing relatively calm, is like doing something purposeful and relatively calm? Like, give me an idea of activity.
I'm definitely looking like it seems to be doing something purposeful and calm. Like, she's looking for someone who seems to have some plan.
Excellent. Luckstat?
4.
Nice. In that case, you catch someone on their phone while they, with an umbrella over their head. They are standing relatively calm and are speaking relatively low. You hear a woman's voice coming out from under the umbrella, and the phone is not one that Liv would be in any way used to. It would look kind of like a makeup mirror, and it's being held up to the face like this.
Yeah, her context for phone are wall phone or pseudo smartphone.
Yes, indeed. Pseudo smartphone would be the closer one to this.
I get that vibe. Liv's society is very much wall phone still, like with cord that like she typically ends up wrapped in her OG setting, and now she has no phone. So
indeed. So what would she do from here?
Oh, she's definitely going for that person.
Weaving her way through, bumped and jostled.
Correct. But very much clinging to the umbrella, going for the very much hoping for the walking stick effect of not being perceived as threatening by anyone, including the guards.
Indeed.
Like, if anyone saw her, she would play very dumb of like, oh no, I was going to get stuff for my baby. I don't really know how I ended up here. Weaponized incompetence, bet.
And as you approach the woman on her phone, you get quite up, like pretty much up to her shoulder. What would you like to do?
She's not going to immediately say something. She's going to start listening as she gets closer. When she gets an earshot, she's going to start paying attention, which will probably be farther away than most people with the 2 to sensory.
Yep, absolutely. And as you do so, you find out that it is a journalist. They are literally live reporting on the entirety of the riot. And you can literally hear them saying, as though they are on camera at that very moment, "Around me the disorder grew and grew. People fear for their lives. We will see to what degree the surrounding businesses are able to provide them refuge, or, indeed, what penalties they will suffer when it is found that they are harboring fugitives. These umbrellas are soon likely to be treated as weapons in and of themselves, perhaps banned, perhaps worse. Perhaps one in their possession will simply be thrown into jail without trial. The future is unknown as of now, and looking around, it is for very, very good reason."
Cool. Does she seem like more of a, like, is she an I don't know. I have a question. I just don't know how Liv would get there.
Yeah, that is a very reasonable question to have.
Yeah.
While you are trying to think about that, any other actions that Olivia would like to take?
I don't think she would go to the reporter. I think that's not what she was looking for, but I do think it was good that she clocked her. She doesn't, unless the reporter is more of a investigative reporter of the type that will find out all of the inner workings, but that's not the type of reporter who will publish findings as they're occurring. That's the type of person who, like, all this shit went down, this is what actually frickin' happened.
Yes,
so
indeed.
This is not the vibe she's going for.
Yep. Absolutely. So who else does she want to try to start to direct her attention towards?
Yeah, she's looking for the next closest calm person.
Yep. Who
With
seems
an
to be
umbrella.
doing something purposeful. Yep.
Even if not doing something purposeful, maybe giving other people, maybe speaking to another. She's looking for someone who's speaking to another person with the umbrella and the calmer one of the two.
Absolutely. Easily done. In fact, you find someone who's actually managed to gather like 7 or 8 people with umbrellas.
Yeah.
And as you get closer, you can hear her like throaty voice as she says, "Listen to me. Do you think that it is going to save you if you throw these aside and go sprinting off? Do you know how many cameras are going to see you? Do you know how many businesses are going to have to give you up to protect their own asses? You're stuck here. You're stuck with us. We are in this together, and we're going to get out of it together. So either you are going to listen to sense, or you are going to get thrown in jail. Which is it going to be?"
Yes, that is who we're looking for. I have a familiar face pitch, but it's a neat one.
I had a feeling. Tell me.
I'm gonna go that Liv and her genre are supporting this rebel faction, and so they've met with them.
Oh, she.
Yup.
Now, the one thing I'm gonna have you think about this a little bit, because the one thing you need to figure out how to cross is the drastic difference in tech level.
Yes, 100%. I think part of the reason Liv has been going on missions is to find other societies which will align well with their goals.
Okay. Excellent.
I think she's going and scouting, and that's part of, besides gaining money, she's trying to find possible allies, and that's why she's going on missions.
All right. I like it, but I'm going to ask you for your paired action of what Liv would do to initiate the familiar face when I jump back.
Yep.
Let's go back to Wituz. After politely declining John's offer, where would he like to wander?
Forward, of course.
Excellent. Into the square?
Yes, into the square, and I'd be sort of observing, looking for a person that seems to be sort of like outside of the crowd, but not quite willing to run away. Sort of like cautiously observing, perhaps a bit uneasy, but clearly like devoted to the cause.
Sure.
Perhaps a young person, not quite like willing to get into the danger that much, but clearly like invested.
Now, as
3
you
pluses to spirit, by the way, so
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like looking for that specific niche.
as you enter into the square, much like Olivia did, wow, Xela, you are very bright at the moment.
God damn it, fucking sun.
Pardon me. So, as you would enter into the square, you would feel yourself immediately start to get buffeted. Now, Wituz is pretty big, like tall guy, if I recall correctly. Yeah.
Yeah, he's over 2 meters tall.
Yeah. That said, even though he would be like getting buffeted, and he's bigger than Olivia is, he doesn't have an umbrella, and therefore people seem more willing to buffet him as well, and like shove him out of the way and stuff like that. So as he's getting kind of like biffed and boffed hither and thither by the waves of the crowd, does he particularly care? I don't know if he necessarily would, but like, is this something that would bother him at all?
No,
Yeah.
I'm walking through here. It's fine.
Mm-hmm. As he ho-hums his way through. So you said you're looking for someone who's invested, but not invested enough to take up an umbrella and actually join the brawl.
Yeah, or maybe like eventually going to join, but sort of like scared of the current situation.
Yep, absolutely. In that case, okay, I got one for you. And you said especially like kind of a younger person would work. You do see a younger man. He has an umbrella in his hand, but it is folded up, and he looks like, especially judging by his emotional state, the way he's looking back over his shoulders, the kind of torn expression as his eyes flit from business to crowd, from business to crowd. He looks like he was starting to run away.
Okay. And he's like in the midst of the crowd, or is he sort of like off to?
He's a little bit off to the side, like he's
Okay.
on the edge of one of the canals.
Okay, I'd like to approach.
Certainly.
Make eye contact and keep the eye contact the entire time as I'm approaching.
Vitality stat?
1+, I think.
1+? Okay. In that case, you'd only be able to catch
let
the
me
eye
check.
contact as you're getting a good deal closer through the mist.
Okay. 2+.
2+. Oh, that helps a good bit, actually. So you'd be able to catch it a little earlier. You can see that when you first make eye contact, the youth looks nervous and, like, brings up the umbrella thinking about opening it. He almost holds it like a weapon, like a gun. And as you get a little closer, he, like, slowly opens it a little bit, but not enough to block eye contact. What do you want to do?
Sure. And I'm just sort of like making my way with the graven staff, still smoking the pipe, right?
Yep.
And just kind of stop, just suddenly stop him. Oh, greetings, young man. Curious weather, is it not?
He looks side to side, kind of looks over your shoulder, looks at your chest a little bit, at your pockets, and he says, "The hotel's that way."
Oh, thank you for the information. That's not necessarily something I have been wondering.
Well, you're stuck in a dangerous place, old man.
Well, that sometimes happens. I usually find my way out.
Come here.
I do. Sort of
he-
like, he'd be almost like overplaying, like, like he's ready for the conspiracy. He's ready to hear whatever this person has
Yeah,
to say.
and he pops open his umbrella and, like, holds it up as high as his arm can get to over your hat. And then brings it down a little bit, so it's at least kind of blocking your faces. Their umbrellas are quite deep, by the way. They're not wide. They're meant to, like, cover your body without bothering people around you. You know what I mean? And so as he kind of brings the umbrella over the two of you, which Wituz would immediately notice stops people bumping into him, the youth would hiss at him, "What are you doing? You're in so much danger. He points to your hat. That almost looks like an umbrella. That's probably good enough to get you chucked in jail for 3 months."
Well, it works with the rain about, you know.
He
So,
goes like clearly not conveying the importance of the situation.
That's fine. This entire time, Wituz is smoking the pipe. To the viewers, I'd just like to say, the Churchwarden pipe is an item of the Greybeard, and it has a calming effect, especially the smoke. So he's smoking the pipe right now, quite close to him.
Yep, like right in his
And-
face at this point.
Yeah, pretty much. So tell me, young, what is this commotion about?
He looks at you like you're an alien and says, there's a riot, you know? There's like, he gestures around. You're not from here. We are trying to, they, kind of me, are trying to stop, a policy. It's really complicated.
He's nodding like all of that is making sense. He's,
Yeah.
making a lot of sense here, and Wituz is very interested in what this man has to say.
Yeah, there's laws in place we're trying to get rid of. It's hard to explain to someone who's not from here, but the old ways have stuck around too long. You know that. You know what that means, right? You might have that where you're from. It's outlived its use, and people cling to it. Yeah, something like that. Maybe that's the best way to explain to you.
Oh, I see. Well, that seems to be a dire situation indeed. And he kind of like furrows his eyebrows. Well, I am going to be honest with you. I'm here to find a person. A specific one. You may have heard of them. Their name is Nars and Enyd.
And he bolts straight up.
He's gonna whisper that, by the way.
Yeah, and he says, "I am Nars and Enyd."
Listen, do not worry about that. I am not working with anyone. I want to make sure everyone escapes safely.
And he says
Nars
firmly,
escapes.
"I am Nars and Enyd." Now, with your trips to Spirit, you can tell that he is lying, but it's like a well-rehearsed, bold lie that he has absolutely no fear of being caught out in.
Well, I see you're doing your part. Good job, young man.
Are you too?
In a way, perhaps. Listen, I know it's hard to keep hope in situations like this, but be not worried. Be aware that no kingdom made by man shall last eternally, and neither shall this one. And he wants to sort of like tap his graven stuff onto the ground.
Yeah.
And I'd like to activate Winds of Change.
Ooh. What's he gonna do?
Clear skies.
Ooh.
Sunlight.
Exceptionally interesting. Are you gonna? You have a perk for that. Is that gonna come into play here, or are you just doing clear skies?
Let me check out the perk. Appropriate flora and lesser fauna. I absolutely want birds to be around. as for the flora, what is the ground like in here? Is it like paved or?
It's paved, but with this kind of like sleek, smooth material that feels kind of like the flooring tiles of an airport.
Okay. So like absolutely like no even dirt like between the tiles or anything, right?
Completely seamless. The only place you've seen plant life has been in like designated little planters and aesthetic garden-y areas.
Alright, so that's what I'm going to do for now, and if you wouldn't mind let me think about a bit more about the flora.
Totally. We're gonna jump over to John then. John, after doing your scouting run, setting your motorcycle, where would you like to go? What would you like to do? You're moving into the square, pardon me.
Yeah.
In what manner are you going to be doing so? Are you going to have weapons out? If so, which? How are you going to comport yourself? Where are you going to go?
Like, he will need to carry his shield because there's a thing that's just not gonna vanish.
Yes,
but
indeed.
he will not go in weapons drawn and just he will try to like walk around the interior of the commotion a bit.
Certainly. And almost
and he would kind of like to feel out with like looking at it if the people of the riot are as organized as the people outside, or even organized at all.
Certainly. Sensory and spirit stats?
2+ is to spirit, 1+ to sensory.
And intelligence?
1+ to intelligence.
Nice. In that case, two things. First of all, as soon as you walk in here, you would actually feel someone like try to like shoulder check you, but then like immediately swerve away into the crowd. You have the resilience to have no problem with this whatsoever. And then
I
you
try to grab the person.
Certainly, but as you like
into me.
reach out to grab, you grab umbrella.
That's all right.
Sure. In that case, as you rip the umbrella, they just let go of it and duck behind someone else with an umbrella, and immediately more umbrellas kind of push in towards you, trying to block your vision. And you would hear hissing, vicious words, "What do you think you're doing here, scum?" Or another one saying, "No umbrella? And carrying all that? Only one thing that can mean." That sort of thing.
He will collapse the umbrella.
Yep.
And just throw it in the crowd.
Yep.
Can have that back. I don't need that one.
Faced with this kind of battery of umbrellas, are you just gonna like push through them? Like no one's actually like attacking you.
Like he's actively trying to walk around the commotion, not into it.
Yep, certainly.
So...
And in this case, as you start trying to like move around, again, they reposition to try to body block you, and more people try to push behind you. They're just like getting in your way.
This is gonna be causing. Like I'm not sure if he wants to be this loud yet, so he's just gonna try a bit more. And if they keep blocking him, how do we want to play this?
One thing I can give you is, as a minor detail, as you having people hissing venom at you, you hear a slang term thrown out quite a bit and can quickly put together what it means. Soak. They call you a soak very often, which clearly is their equivalent of fuzz or cop or something like that. Though that said, it seems to mostly be inquiry. You working with the Soaks? You with the South? What division are you in? What unit are you with? What's your badge number? That sort of thing. Clearly trying to, like, bully a confession out of you as to your allegiance.
Yeah, I know. There's two ways that I can think to play this, but it's gonna make things escalate really quick either way. So
Yes.
let's escalate things.
Please.
He will not draw a weapon yet, but start just smacking his hand on the plate carrier to make sound. I hope that carries. Trying to activate gear things off of that.
Yep, absolutely. And as you begin to do so and the sound starts to emanate, any actions you would like to take, you hear the body blockers, again, hissing at you. Think you're doing something? You're signaling to someone? Is that what you're doing now? Or another one says, your radio's on the other side, dipshit.
The only thing on the other side being the Enclave badge.
Yes, indeed.
But one more note. There is a perk on gear things for John, which will make people that feel oppressed more willing and able to help him or join his cause.
Yes,
in
indeed.
whatever he might do.
And as he is slamming, actions he'd like to take.
He will just menacingly look at one person in specific and walk towards them.
And again, the umbrellas are up, and you feel them, again, they're completely non-harmful. They're just being a nuisance, right? And trying to be threatening and concealing their identities. But as you just kind of walk between the umbrellas, with the Garathings active, they don't try to reposition. And you hear the hissing starting to calm down slightly. They keep their umbrellas, like, in front of their faces to conceal their identities, but as you kind of walk through them, still slamming into your chest, you would hear the voice of, like, one member of the crowd, kind of like, or like the surrounders, kind of quietly chirp out, whose side are you on?
The side that will make sure no unnecessary blood will be spilled today. Thank you very much.
And as you move through the body blockers, are you going to maintain Garathings, or are you going to drop it early?
Yes.
Maintain? Nice. In that case, continuing your periphery, some of the body blockers, like, initially try to, like, scurry after you to keep being a nuisance, but between the fog and the chaos of the riot and other more pressing matters drawing attention, and on top of all that, Garathings slightly disarming them towards you, so to speak, you are actually able to, just by walking and, like, keeping your eyes straight ahead, completely lose them. And it becomes abundantly clear to you, as, like, between that interaction and, like, the 30 seconds afterwards, that these people had a game plan, and it's very rapidly collapsing.
Well, then. Well, he will just continue on with the patrol, as it were, for now.
Yep. Are you going to try to ring the entirety of the square, or are you just keeping to, like, a relative vicinity of where you ported in?
How, like, would that take a long time?
It's a city block, so it would be a hoof.
Well, then he's just gonna try and walk circles, or trying to be close to his motorcycle.
Yep.
But trying to keep stock on the situation all the same.
Yep, absolutely. And in that case, keeping a relatively close perimeter, maintaining the Garathings, you are not bothered by the protesters once. Many of them stop and look, and you occasionally will hear a like, half-hearted hissed question, but the perk on the Garathings clearly impresses quite a lot upon them. The other thing you would notice as you cut this patrol is that the riot police have pushed in quite a bit since you guys ported in, to the point where even through the mist, you can see one of their vehicles, like the closest of their vehicles, actually visible in the artery choke point that's about to, like, enter into the square proper. The vehicles are moving slowly, but still, you know, it's not a long distance for them to travel. Other notes from John as he's finishing his little patrol here. And then I'm going to jump back to Wituz and then to Olivia.
I think he will make it a point to answer even the stupidest his questions sincerely, trying to assuage the fears of these people that he is about to do something to them.
Yep, Absolutely. And there would be quite a few repeats. Things like the occasional snarled like quip about, what unit are you with? How much do they pay you to do this? That sort of thing. But also a couple of more genuine ones. Where are you from? That doesn't look like at the soaks we know. That sort of thing.
Yeah. He will answer honestly. He will tell them that he's not from here and that he's not with the police. Whether or not they believe him, that's on them.
Yep, absolutely. And as you are cutting your way around, answering these occasionally stupid or redundant questions, jumping back to Wituz, any other thoughts on your Winds of Change ability use?
Sure. After that whole thing about how no empire is eternal, I'd like to sort of like give him a conspiratory glance. Clasp one of his hands, and then tell him, do not worry, change cannot be stopped. And sort of like give him a knowing smile. And then remove my hand, and I'd like to summon a butterfly in his hand.
Ooh, that's very pretty.
Small patch of moss.
I like that a lot. And you can see that he, because you have the trip sensor, you actually get quite a lot of how he feels about this. It's a sudden oh my god, and then, okay, it's not like a venomous animal or something like that. However, immediately after that moment of freak out, you can feel a genuine awe and wonder kind of creep up through him. You know what I mean? A legitimate childlike joy and wonder, though he's definitely a late teen. But as this happens, the sky opens. A beam of light shines down through, and you immediately hear a chorus of voices from all across the area saying things along many lines. For example, I can't see! Ah! But more substantially, you hear people saying, the rain? Where's the rain? And you hear people say, no, it's just a small one. It's just a small one. Or even more substantially, are they trying to cut our rain from us? But to the youth that you've given the butterfly and the moss to, he looks out from under his umbrella towards the opening sky, looks to you, and just mouths, you did that?
In a way, perhaps.
And he squints at the sun, clearly not used to looking at it. Shades his eyes with his umbrella. And nods. The butterfly flitters away from his hand. And he tucks up the moss, tucks it into a pocket, and puts his umbrella over himself and hurries back into the riot.
Can I sort of catch the butterfly on my finger and put it under the head as well? Because it's just gonna get killed in the rain. So making sure that one is fine. But before he does, I kind of see him that he wants to join the riot, right?
Yeah.
He's probably full of hope and all that. I'd like to just go with him. But kind of overplay how slow I am, right? I'm an old man, so just,
sure.
We are going into the riot. So listen, do you think they know how Nars actually looks? Or are they safe for now?
And the youth, calm, and under his umbrella, says quietly and levelly back to you, if they knew what he looked like, he'd be gone.
How many people are there in the crowd?
Just looking through the mist, though admittedly, with you bringing in that ray of light, the mist is actually dissipating very substantially. Both because the rays of the sun can evaporate it, but more substantially, there's less rain to convert into mist. And because of that, you have a much bigger field of vision. The riot is easily numbering in the hundreds. Probably not the thousands, but probably close to 1,000. It maybe even a little higher.
Okay. Gonna be hard to find a person in here.
Yep.
So yeah, I just sort of encouragingly give him another smile, pat on the back, and sort of send him towards the crowd.
And as you do so, He nods, tucks his umbrella back down, and hurries off into it. You actually can hear him yelling to people who are running hither and thither. Come on, keep our heads! Keep our heads! We have an opportunity here! Now, as Wituz does...
Sorry. As he's leaving,
Yeah.
I'd sort of like to just like kind of like carry my Graven stuff around him so that his voice is getting imbued through the Graven stuff.
Ooh, energy work that? Give me a paired action.
Right, so...
And you'd probably want to keep close to him if that was the case. So do you want to move off with him?
I would just sort of like subtly walking behind him with the stuff sort of like a bit angled forwards. Whenever he kind of like looks to a side to yell out, I'll sort of like move the stuff towards that location.
Yep.
Just sort of like amplify his voice.
Yep, absolutely. And as you are doing so, he calls out, "The sun isn't our enemy at the moment. It's our greatest ally. Look, they don't have enough water. They're not going to be able to blast us. We have an opportunity here. Come on, people, let's move." And as he is yelling out across the crowd, Olivia, give me that paired action.
Yep. Liv walks up to the person directing them conspiratorially.
Yep. Is she concealing herself fully with her umbrella?
Initially, yes.
Yep.
She gets to them and pulls them to the side, revealing herself.
And as you start to pull the woman to the side, she says, "Wait, not now. I need to Who are you?"
She smiles and says, Olivia Thompson. I am an ally, but right now I'm here to get out the leader of the revolution to preserve your movement.
And as you say this to her, you can see that she lifts up her thing as well. She is pretty substantially disfigured. It looks like she has not only a broken nose, but maybe got like acid attacked or something, because she has like a sloping face. That clearly was an old injury, and she has no lingering open wound of any kind. It's just a very bad scar and disfiguration. But as she lifts up the umbrella, she says, "Thompson, I remember hearing about that name." She says, "Foreign, far foreign, right?"
Liv lifts up her umbrella enough that the woman can see her face and says,
"Yeah.
Yes,
And
not from around here."
And as you say this, she says, "Now, She pulls you in closer under her umbrella, and she says, "Getting Nars out is not going to be easy. They've cut off every line of escape. Every one, including all sewers, including all sluice gates. There's no way out. We are looking for one. We're trying to punch through. We don't think it's going to work, and we don't want people to die."
Liv nods and says, "Point me in their direction. I'll start working on it."
Oh, excuse me. Yes, Sterling? Well, it seems as though Mama is already contending with that issue. Well, Sterling, that is not a good reason to interrupt you. Come on, listen to Mama.
So freaking cute.
It's absolutely adorable.
You gotta go to Mama right now. She just said it. If you don't get a move on, you're gonna get a timeout. Come on. Thank you very much. Trying to get your brother in more trouble by telling me what happened when Mama already knows is not great behavior, my friend. Pardon me. Trying to double up on his brother's timeouts. All right.
Can't say I haven't done it.
Yes. Now, apologies. She says, "I can't point you to Nars. We cannot compromise. We cannot compromise their location."
Liv nods, but says, "I cannot help if I do not know."
I think you can, probably. If you can open up a escape passage for us, then that will be enough. To give you an idea, I don't know where Nars is. This is such important, sensitive information that we decentralize it.
Liv nods and says, I understand. She looks at the woman and says, are there any traditional zealots of the theocracy around?
And she says, precious few left over. Especially not in any sort of accessible manner. She points up, and as she does so, she says, oh. The rain. And you can see the sunlight going through. To Olivia, it's not really a big deal, but it's actually enough of a big deal here that the riot is quieting slightly, as both sides are like looking up in awe towards the opening sky. I can't.
Can I interrupt with something I do right
quick
after
thing, yes.
this discussion? A very quick thing. The bird is being sent to the skies.
Excellent, yes. And you've also summoned in a couple with Winds of Change as well. And so in that case, Olivia would not only see the like birds up in the sky, but also she would pick out the beautiful orange one with the crest that she saw back in assembly, flying up high. And the woman, after her moment of paused awe, would shake herself out of it and point to some of the high hovercraft that are like circling up above. She'd say, there are going to be a couple of Hydromancer Corps coordinators up there. Among them, you're likely to find at least one Old Ways zealot, but that's unlikely. Well, no, it's not unlikely. There's probably at least one, but... She slams her hand against her hip and says, that's the issue with the regime. They don't actually believe in the old ways. They just want to keep the convenient parts.
Liv nods and gives a small smirk and says, I'm good at working with people in difficult settings.
She says, if you want someone who is actually a believer, your best bet is to find someone over 80 who's not in the riot.
I'm looking for... You said the Hydromancers are likely to have some allegiance to the old ways, correct?
And she says, yes, but not the young ones. The young ones just want a good paycheck.
Understood. Okay. If I make an opening, not an...
Just Nars works.
Nars, if I make an opening, Nars will be able to get out.
If you make an opening, say it to anyone with an umbrella, word will spread, Nars will learn. They're in the crowd, and we need to just trust that word will get to them, because it always does.
Great. Thank you for your help.
Thank you. It's good to have allies, especially abroad.
Liv nods and puts down her umbrella and puts her umbrella to cover her face again and walks to a different point in the crowd, more around the panicked people, and begins to act very confused on purpose.
Absolutely. Now, panicked people, even though there was that moment of calm when the sun came out, or more like awe, the panic kind of intensifies after people start picking it back up. First of all, because people aren't used to seeing the fucking sun, and it's scary and weird. It would be like a solar eclipse that no one expected in New York City. You know what I mean? Just like, holy shit! You know? But more than that, there is, in addition to panic, you would hear a couple of, a young voice that would be starting to be echoed by others, who started to point out that without the rain, the Hydromancers have left firepower. And so there's a whole bunch of swarming in the crowd as people start to try to blitz some of the checkpoints. I say blitz. This isn't coordinated. This is mob movements, you know? Like, big throng of people start blobbing off in this direction, and then more start blobbing off in this direction. So it's completely disorganized. However, because of this, is Liv positioning herself somewhere she's going to be getting jostled? Somewhere she's going to be getting seen? What?
She is looking to position herself so she will be noticed for the people trying to prevent the revolution as much as possible, but in a way in which she's getting actively jostled, and she wants her umbrella to be revealing her baby bump. And see, like, we're going for hopefully using the, in essence of the walking stick, that I don't know how I ended up here. What the hell is happening? I am just a pregnant, confused little lady.
Okay, and you do have an umbrella, but you're holding it high-ish. And so in that case, are you going to let yourself get swept along with a crowd towards one of the, the blockades?
Yes.
Okay. And as you do so, you hear the yelling and the panic and the fighting intensifying, as well as the occasional gushing, jetting sounds of water. As you're going through the now relatively clearer mist, you can see up ahead one of the great low hovercraft with its big bulldozer-like shield blade that's preventing people from, passing out through this big arterial choke point. And also, you can see that in front of it, there are heavily armed and armored riot police. It's clear why John doesn't stand out here, or at least he's not obviously aligned with them, because their colors are, rather than John's, remember me John's color scheme? I believe I remember. But
Black with purple highlights.
Black, that's what I thought. It was black and dark, right? Their color scheme is actually this kind of faint blue, but it's mostly clear. Like, most of their gear is clear so they can see through it. You know what I mean? And as such, their color scheme of, blue with mostly clear is completely different from John's. But additionally, Liv would see that occasionally the crowd will be, flung or shoved backwards as a great gout of water goes out from one of the hydromancers among the riot police and just, launches people backwards. It's very, very powerful magic, but clearly not trying to kill people. Just shove them away.
Yes.
Is she letting herself accidentally on purpose get jostled to the front of the crowd?
Yes, she is aiming to get jostled into the riot police.
Yep, absolutely. And as she is doing so, she can see that the police are swinging. They're, going at it and trying to, knock people down, break wrists, knock people unconscious, drag them away, and whenever they do, they pull a rioter out. They'll get rid of the umbrella first of all, and then they throw them in underneath the blade of the great barricade machine, where other police are behind, and drag them through, and then stick them into the machine, which clearly has a holding cell. You would note that the canals on either side of this place are choked with umbrellas that have been thrown by the police, just grabbing people out.
Okay, 100%. Liv, when she sees the police, closes the umbrella.
Yep.
And tries to make eye contact with the nearest police.
Vitality?
1.
Yep. And as you close the umbrella, immediately eyes on you. Because, hey, yeah, we can identify you now. And you can see that one of the nearest police, who's battling a protester on one side and trying to club one with another, yells at you, "Do you surrender? Do you surrender?"
Okay, great. Liv starts crying.
The classic.
On purpose. Yes.
Yep.
Oh, she is great at using people's perception of inherently misogyny for her advantage.
And as soon as she does so, you can see that his eyes flick down and he yells over his shoulder, "We need water here! She's pregnant!" And you can see that immediately a hydromancer, not armed but very similarly garbed, leaps up onto one of the steps of the blade behind and absolutely obliterates the crowd around you with water with such precision that it leaves a perfect little aisle for you to not be hit, right?
Yeah.
And you can see that they actually draw their water from the vehicle, which clearly has a fire engine style reservoir inside of it for them to pull from. Clearly, they're not used to using that because they have water all around. But with the rain stopping, they're actually tapping into their reservoir a lot more than they clearly are used to. And immediately, this police officer and 3 others rush forward, grab you, not that roughly, but clearly trying to get the shields around you and stuff like that, and bodily pick you up to carry you back to their barricade.
Great. Liv goes with this, crying, being like, "Oh my god, I don't know how I ended up here. Oh my god."
And one of them says, "Why did you pick up the umbrella, ma'am? Why did you pick up the umbrella? That's very dangerous."
Yeah, she's fully playing dumb. She's like, "Oh my god, that's just been my umbrella forever. I didn't even know it had a meaning. I got it at the market 2 years ago before I was pregnant. I just my umbrella. I didn't want to. I wanted to like this outfit."
And as you are brought back into police custody, you aren't just like cuffed and thrown in the back. Instead, you are brought around the back of the vehicle to where there are a couple, like there's more regiments of police waiting, clearly to be like subbed out as reserves. But you also finally see some clearly people in charge, people who have like communicator devices rather than weapons. And you would also see a hydromancer corps of like 3 who are clearly trying to figure out what the fuck is going on with the sky. And like, because you can see them like looking to the sky, they project these like beautiful little pulses of mist up high. They quickly communicate with one another. There's one guy with a communicator who's like relaying information, and you hear him actively saying as you come around, "We cannot explain it. No atmospheric reason, nothing. It just happened. And we need to close this damn thing if we're going to keep this thing under control."
Yeah.
As you are brought around, we are going to jump back over to... Let's start with John, and then we're going to jump to Wituz again. Now, John, the sun is coming out, and people are kind of panicking, but also, like, going for broke and trying to blitz.
John will immediately try to, like, just yell orders at them to try and get them into some sort of formation.
Is he going to be actually approaching one of the arteries to, like, help them try to get out?
Yes. Like, he has slept close to his motorcycle. This is as much of a sign as he will ever get from the other two, is what he's guessing.
True.
And, yeah, like, he will start, like, "You there, form a line! Don't run about! Shoulder to shoulder gives you strength." Trying to organize the...
Now, you get
rioters.
Some people who do actually listen to you, but a lot of them who don't. And it's immediately obvious why. One, besides the panic and the complete lack of game plan. 2, you don't have an umbrella.
I know. To that point,
At this point, the Garethings would have naturally subsided, by the way. So you don't have that going for you, though you did cut enough of a swath with it that you would be, like, recognized in a similar light by a fair number of people in your current location.
Yeah. Like, he will yell the orders as he gets closer to the bike. Let's just do this medieval style then. And as he gets closer to the bike, he says, "Well, people, this is your time, this is now. Let's give you something for the other hand then." As he tries to use that into gear things.
Garethings were 2 arms.
2 arms, sorry, yeah.
No
You're
problem.
very right. 2 arms. He would like to try to give people that are, like, somewhat amenable, the people that get into formation, I was thinking halberd, but that's a 2-handed weapon.
Yeah, think about something that
So-
works with an umbrella, especially that can be concealed by an umbrella.
Yeah, like, the thing I want to go for is there's these Japanese fighting sickles.
Kama.
Like, halved and then a hook
Yeah,
on it.
kama.
Yeah. Something that you can easily, like, wield with the umbrella, but also allows you to hook shields if
Yep.
you wanted to.
Excellent. Kama sounds perfectly good to me. And as you activate the 2 arms, there's a moment as the people under their umbrellas clearly, like, the umbrellas rustle, they're clearly checking, and one of them says, "This guy's got chops! This guy's giving out free chops! Come on, get in line!" And you can see that without question, as like that word starts to spread through the mob, you start to get people coming in, maybe not like orderly, definitely not orderly, and maybe not politely,
obviously.
but you go from like having 6 people who are listening to like 30 people who are listening in relatively rapid succession.
Yeah. Then we are gonna do a final thing. This is a big space, right? So presumably, were one to use a shield wall, it wouldn't wrap even around the crowd that is rioting.
No, not even close.
Well, then I think we're gonna keep that one in our pocket for now, as he boards the motorcycle. Takes a deep breath. pulls the half pike out of the shield
Yep.
and uncollapses it.
Yep.
And then, like, the shield on the arm starts up the motorcycle
Yep.
and prepares for a charge.
And as you do so, the sound of the motorcycle roar grabs some more eyes as well. And some of the people who have been given commas are like yelling out to other ones, "Get behind this guy! Behind this guy! This guy!" And as you are gunning your engine, are you going to be going out way ahead of the throng that you have behind you, or are you going to be like keeping slow at first so they can keep up?
So what he will try to do at first, and this is probably gonna be a very interesting play, is he will just full speed gun for one of the the barrier vehicle he had been
blockade vehicle,
preparing
yeah.
to attack, and
Yep.
just use both his motorcycle, but this is substantial knockback of the shield and pike combo to just push that thing back as far as he can
Ooh,
take it.
wow. It is substantial knockback, but that's a big vehicle. So I'm going to be
I
asking
know.
for some energy work on impact for sure.
Yes.
Now, as you go driving out, gunning the engine, given that the mist has cleared a good amount, not anywhere near fully, but a good amount, you can see that the way that the police barrier is formed is they have like an arterial choke point, which is again the size of like a 1-2 lane street, not including sidewalks. So it's relatively small for a city, right? But the barrier vehicle completely blocks it, and in front of the barrier vehicle there is a line of like 12 like riot police, with hydromancers standing just behind the barrier on like elevated platforms, maybe built into the barrier's blade. So you're dealing with like 16 enemies plus big ass truck. What would you like to do as you are driving towards? Where are you aiming? Where are you trying to crash into? And also tell me how you're going to possibly move this thing.
The one thing I will add is that he will not try to go for the center of it, but like try to strafe it to maybe not push it back all that much, but just turn it.
Oh, I see. It is a hovercraft after all. So you
Yeah.
like trying to hit it kind of. The blade, the blade of it, which in front looks like this, from a bird's eye view, would be tapered kind of like a snowplow.
Yeah.
And so you could hit it from this side to try to like shift it kind of like that.
Though it will still need some energy work to actually push it because
Oh,
it's
yes.
still heavy.
Heavy and
it's
again
probably-
powered by water jets. So there is still force
Yeah.
that is impelling it.
I might need a second to think about that.
Completely fine. Let's jump back over to Wituz. Now, alongside the young man, as he's yelling out to the people around, using your staff to slightly, not as much as with yourself, but slightly augment his voice. Other actions that Wituz would like to take as the word the young man is spread is going elsewhere. Like, people are starting to take up the call, yell it to other people.
Take out my orboculum, and we are peering into the crystal ball. So for the viewers, the orboculum lets me pitch an event which is about to happen, and I'll get hurt because its arcane powers beyond mortal comprehension. So yes, I peer into the orboculum, and an event which I'm pitching is that one of the checkpoints is soon gonna collapse. Soon-ish.
Okay. And
Feels kind of appropriate.
yeah,
to me.
let me consider this for a second. I will say, yes, you see this. However, as you see it, you would feel a choking sensation in your throat, a wrenching in your stomach, and clearer rainwater starts to dribble out of your nose and throat, and you cannot breathe.
Well, that sucks. Yeah, he's just gonna sort of like try to get the water out of his throat, and
As
out
you
of his
spit,
lungs.
there's more. It keeps welling up from you.
And sort of desperate, he's still clutching the orboculum, clutching onto it tight. But he needs to speak out here. He
Yeah.
desperately needs to. So I take the orboculum, and I smash it on the ground.
And as you do so, you would spew and vomit water out of yourself, just getting it out of your system. But the flow stops, though by the time it does, Wituz would be like literally gasping and panting for air. Like his vision would have started to cloud a little bit because of how little air he had gotten. But as he breathes in deep, he can still feel kind of a rattle in his lungs, and he doesn't get as much like oxygen as he would want to out of that full breath. You can effectively think of it like him having pneumonia. You know what I mean? Just like...
As Wituz is panting and gasping for air, he utters a curse word in an ancient language long since forgotten by mankind. And in this state, he's just going to try to calm down, close his eyes, and that's not a bird action anymore. He's gonna look to the skies, and I'd like to see the world through the eyes of the bird.
Absolutely. And looking down, you see the riot field in perfect RTS glory. You can see the 3 checkpoints, the one closest to you. You can also see John's motorcycle starting to like move in that direction with people around it. You would also see the 6 like high point hovering command posts. And you would see also that the crowd is mostly... Again, it's hard to tell. They're very disorganized. A bigger number of them are moving in the direction of the checkpoint that John is moving towards than the other 2. And so, too, the law enforcement is already responding with hovercraft outside of the square starting to drive around to reinforce the checkpoint that is being, like, most threatened at the moment.
All right. And you said that there are, like, 6... floating command sensors.
Yep,
right?
Exactly. I don't think Wituz would know that that's what they are, or even infer it. There's 6 great flying ships.
It makes sense that the governors would be on the ships anyways, doesn't it?
It's off the ground, and they are completely unthreatened. It's not like someone's going to lob an umbrella at them. Like
Okay, that's fine. I'd like to see whether there's an area where more umbrellas are sort of like congested to a specific point, and if it seems intentional, if they are like guarding someone.
The best thing that you can tell, 2 things that you can tell. One, the umbrellas seem to be gathered very heavily towards that one choke point, but that is clearly because they're attacking it, right? Second of all, there's a big concentration of umbrellas kind of in that same direction, but more centralized in the square. It would take a moment, but Wituz would actually realize that it's where he is. It's where he and the youth are as they're gathering their little crowd. He can see his hat through his bird's eye.
3 pluses to intelligence. I'd like to do an inference here.
Yeah, please.
My thought here is that he'd be they'd be surrounded by like a close people to Nars who are sort of like guarding them. But probably not the largest crowd, since they would probably not be wanting to be like in the middle of all of that, and they wouldn't want to be too suspicious, right? Because there are cameras. They would also be presumably looking for large crowds where they'd be at the center. So, well, either that or absolutely alone.
Yep.
Those are 2 guesses.
Between the 2, the absolutely alone seems more likely for 2 reasons. One, because any concentration would immediately draw the authorities' attention. It's said that this is a heavy security, like a surveillance state here. And even if Wituz doesn't know what that means, the Enclave would at least briefed him on the idea of a security camera. Oh, like phantom eyes that are everywhere. And that's why the
evil forces watching at all times.
Yeah, yes. And that's why people need to be anonymous. Second of all, the second you mentioned the name Nars Enyd, the young man you were speaking to said, "I am Nars Enyd," and it was clearly rehearsed, so they are clearly ready to, like, take the fall, no matter what, which is probably better protection than physical guarding at this point.
Sure. Okay, and did I succeed in getting most of the water out at this point?
Yes, though you would still be, like, functionally pneumonia-ridden. For the foreseeable future because of how much it logged in your lungs and how much like damage it started to cause.
Okay. Can I shout?
It would come out as like a at first, but you would have to, after some hacking, you could do like a weaker shout than normal.
Right. Wituz is kind of mad because the Orbaculum fucked him over here. Maybe shouldn't have done that. Slumming into his chest, full force, I'd like to activate Great and Durable and just power all the water out by slamming my chest, full might. I mean, he doesn't have any pluses to might, but he's definitely like just slamming the chest and being quite grumpy and angry.
What will he be saying?
Well, I mean, not much right now because he had a speech prepared. That kind of doesn't fit now.
And what?
So just sort of like, you know what? Whatever. I'm in a crowd. There's people here. He's gonna be periodically like tapping the graven stuff on the ground as well, in sync with the dots on his chest.
Yep, absolutely. And as you do so, what is going to be like the primal power you surround yourself with?
Eventually rain, but for now I'd like to summon myself, surround myself just with the water I go out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Seems like a pretty good place to start.
And as you grow in size, this is not like a massive great and terrible, so you're not going to be getting that big, right? But as you are...
I'm going to be adding to it.
Yeah, I had a feeling you would be. As you are doing so, you would hear, for the first time, as you're kind of like realizing what your surroundings a little more, that the yelled voices, and especially the youth, have actually kind of calmed down, and you can kind of feel people's eyes on the back of your head as that same young man says, "Are you okay, great uncle?"
I'm quite fine, thank you. Can I speak at this point?
Yes.
Shout.
It's a little wheezy, but you can do so.
Okay. I just sort of like defiantly like look forward, and at the top of my lungs scream, "Nars Enyd! You are looking for Nars Enyd! Well, there he is! Right here! I shall not cover anymore! I shall not hide! You came for me, so come and get me!" And I'd like to sort of like use the water to sort of like push the crowds a bit away from me, because otherwise they are gonna get into danger.
Yep, absolutely.
And I'd like to be just like making eye contact with the first sort of like enforcer that looks my way.
And as you are looking around, you're somewhat far away from like the major checkpoint areas, but the second you yell this out loudly over the crowd, you see two of the aircraft above start to move. And as you do so, you can see that the rioters that were surrounding you have gone from like mild concern at the weird wizard guy to like genuine fear for you. Especially the youth. You can see him like shaking his head, and he's just mouthing, "No, no, 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 no."
Okay.
And as he looks to you, he yells, "Get under an umbrella, great uncle."
You mentioned the hover platforms. How stable do they seem?
Think of them like helicopters, but they're flat, and they're like way flatter rather, and they're powered by like jets of water coming from underneath and the sides.
Okay. I have a self-fulfilling prophecy because I'd like to toss one of them into a checkpoint. But I do have a very specific idea of how to do it. How much are they like flying above the ground?
So they're pretty high up, but not enormously. Think of it like... That's a good analogy here. Think of them like a skyscraper overhead. 20 floors.
Okay. I'd like to look for the one that is closest to me.
Yep, definitely. And one is coming in to like come right overhead to where you are.
Okay, and you said they are sort of like hovering by spewing out water.
Yeah, they have like jets of water coming out from underneath them.
My shrouding element is like water / storm, right? Rain.
Mm-hmm.
Can I be like sucking the water out of the machine?
Ooh, it's pretty far away. How would you want to try to do it at distance?
Does it look like it's going to float closer?
The two of them are convening on your location and do seem to be dropping in altitude, at least somewhat.
Okay.
Do you need a moment
Can
to
I
think?
get a moment to think?
Yeah, absolutely. Olivia,
Yep.
you've been hauled around the vehicle and
Yep.
like set down gently.
Yep.
And as you're kind of like put down, you can see that almost immediately the riot police who brought you retreat back to kind of the reserves, and some of the reservists like swap in and go back over to the front line, coordinated wordlessly by some of their captains. As they're doing so, however, one of those same captains puts away their communicator, and she comes stalking over to you. She's like kind of comically short to be having this level of authority, meaning that even with Liv kind of seated, she's not like much higher than her. And she would say to you sternly and severely, "Madam, that umbrella, that particular style of umbrella, is an incredibly dangerous thing to be holding. It places and implicates you in one of the greatest crimes that has happened in the last 2 decades of the city. If you purchased that 2 years ago and held on to it all of this time, then it is willful."
Great. Yep. Liv just crying and is like, I mean, it was a gift from my husband, and he died, and now he's not gonna get to meet my baby.
And as you are saying this, you can see that she's wordlessly like drawing people in closer. She says, "Your husband, I see. Name, please. Full name, first and last."
Yeah, and she's like, I'm not from here. I just wanted to see the rain.
I understand. Full name of your husband, please.
Yep. She yes.
You got it. Take your time. It's a tough one to put you on the spot with.
Sorry, I suck at names on the spot.
That's completely fine. Would you prefer a moment to think?
Yes, because I want to come up with a name and a reason she's saying this specific name.
Gotcha. In that case, I'm going to jump briefly to John, not for a very, very long cut. John, you are roaring in towards the blockade. You would also notice that this blockade is down 3 riot police at this exact moment. John didn't see this part, but they just dragged away Olivia.
It's good that he didn't see that, because that might have caused him to abort.
Yep.
So as he starts gunning his motorcycle towards it, the scene takes him back to very much the last day. His people had been fighting a war where all was indeed lost, and the other side had barricaded the planet as to prevent people from escaping it. And he was designated, he was one of the 5 people on the last functioning, if not armed ship of his people, as they very solemnly have volunteered themselves to be running the blockade, trying to get at least a few people out. Is what he's trying to and he's trying to draw on the not desperation, but just the solemn confidence and quiet that comes with that sort of moment, the knowing what is to come and having made peace with it for the sake of his people.
Excellent. And how will you be physically holding yourself as you gun in towards the vehicle? You said that you wanted to kind of hit it on the side of its blade to kind of push it sideways a little bit. Is this going to be like full jousting position, or are you going to be like low on the motorcycle, focusing on holding the handlebars? Describe to me your stance.
Since two-wheel vehicles like motorcycle stabilizers, they get faster, so I wouldn't think he would need to lean down as much.
Yep.
He will try to get himself in as much a proper position. He doesn't have the gear to really set it, but have the pike in his hand and under the arm to give it a stabler position as he can. The shield is just off to the side as he holds on to the one-handed bazooka. He can keep the acceleration up.
Excellent. And as you careen in, I'm gonna give one thing here that I think is only fair, especially with the cool paired action. I'm gonna let you play a V2 Warhorse on your bike. And
That's good.
The context of that is that in V2, the Warhorse gets extra charging impact and a shield for itself while it's charging. And because of this, as you come streaking in, the one jet of water that they try to hit you with is blocked by the charge shield. It sprays out in front, kind of like hitting a puddle in a car at high speed. Your vision is temporarily obscured by it, but when you hit, with that scene playing in your head, you actually can hear the riot police yell and dive to the side to not be in the line of that frickin' charge. The massive hovercraft is taken off balance. It swerves to the side and opens up an aisle about the width of a sidewalk. And the crowd charges.
Follow-up action to that.
Yeah.
As he sees this thing moving, he would like to bring his shield up, maybe drag it across the floor slightly as he does.
Yeah.
And he will try to there still needs to be a shout on shield wall, I think.
Some sort of like stamp.
Yeah, and
shout,
just draw it
something.
across the coast and just fucking stay there as he draws a shield wall to just keep the thing where it is.
That is sick. Literally like hooking it in place with the shield wall. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And as you do so, you hear the hovercraft try to cut its engine so they can't be moved any further. But that just lists it sideways on the shield wall because it can't crush the shield wall with its bulk. Meaning that as you, literally, you know those like pop-up barriers? Like a car stuck on a pop-up barrier, you know?
Does it seem like there is another checkpoint up ahead?
Not another checkpoint up ahead, but you do see, given that they're not misting this area, so it's just like normal rainfall over there, with a little bit of sunlight from Wituz, there are reinforcements rapidly being deployed to this area because it's obviously like the weak link.
Yeah. Quick headcount probably tells him that the rioters probably not able to deal with that all that much.
Oh, definitely not. And also, they're so desperate to get out that having an opening like this, it's going to be hard to not have them all rush through.
Yeah. Well, then he's not gonna bail from the motorcycle. He's just gonna try and help them along the way. He's gonna slow down a bit.
Yeah.
Replace the pike back into the shield. Like put the shield somewhere on the motorcycle, presumably that has a hole for that.
Yeah.
And then just gonna switch to the bastard sword in its glorious skin of being a fighting baton that still has electrifying parts to it, and he's just gonna try and just swipe soaks as he comes up to them.
You said this, but I forgot it. Are you on motorcycle or are you off motorcycle?
Yes. Still on motorcycle.
Yep, absolutely. So roaring it around and getting through. You can still be taking point as you're swiping your way through, but more importantly, their shields don't matter when you strike them because everything is wet. And so every time you hit, you can take someone out, and they're down. Not only does the crowd roar in approval with this, but the ones that you have given commas to are actually also doing the thing that you were hoping. Hooking shields and pulling them down in a way to make openings in improvised police barricades to give other people a chance to reach through and grab stuff, right? Now, two things that you do note. You hear a call go up from the police side, which is something that is rather substantial. Blades recognized. And you can hear many of them calling them into their radios and signaling it to each other, and there's an immediate change in their disposition. Additionally, the Hydromancers, rather than doing these big pushes, you see one or two of them, especially when shields are being hooked. One of the crowd who has a comma is actually killed by a hydromancer who jets, rather than a big boosh to like knock them away, an incredibly thin, incredibly pressurized line of water directly into their head. And so it immediately raises the stakes, makes everything more tense, makes everything more violent, and the police stop using their truncheons and start bringing out a different type of weapon. Before you have a chance to recognize most of this, though, because a lot of this is being absorbed while you're striking and zapping, and people are rushing around and shouting and yelling, so this is all kind of filtering into you over the course of like 10-15 seconds of chaos. Any follow-ups from John before I jump back to Olivia and then Wituz?
It's been some time since he has used the gear things. Would that be off
That is off
cooldown?
cooldown. Yep.
Then he is going to, like, his motorcycle is making noise. That's gonna help. Presumably hitting people with some electrified weapon on their shields is gonna make noise.
It makes a
he will
nasty
try to
pop.
coordinate. Yeah. He will try to coordinate that with We're almost there, people! Hold fast and get through them! To activate the gear things.
And you hear people taking up the cry. And as the Garethynx is amplified by dozens of voices, the noise it makes is massive, and the police lines are starting to pull back. That said, you're still very much outnumbered and outgunned as you're moving from one square here into like a thoroughfare where a couple of like big roads and canalways are intersecting. Olivia, you're a little behind in time, so let's catch you up. A name was demanded. What do you have?
Correct. I have backstory.
Excellent.
Great. Okay. Liv, still crying. Manages to get out. His name was Edward Jacobs, and now Edward Jacobs is a real character. He and Liv did have a semblance of a relationship when she was just out of grad school but had stopped teaching and just begun wandering. Mm-hmm. When she started doing this, she had somewhat more structure in her life when she was figuring out who she was. She would go to random places and typically kind of do a Peace Corps teacher of like metro art, kind of just teach something.
Sure.
Because she knew how to teach and she knew how to interact with children. So she would just go to towns and like fill a role that was needed in dealing with children. Edward Jacobs was a local craftsman who she did enjoy his company, and like, but like it was more in a you're fairly pleasant and you have a desire for a physical relationship. There was no romance on her end, but like she was just existing, and they did have a level of a physical relationship, but it wasn't really anything that was significant to her.
Yeah.
But their company was significant to her for sure. She considered them a friend, but she was shitty at friending.
Totally.
And is just learning how to do it like in an appropriate manner. So like most of her friendships were highly inappropriate, including one with Serena. They have inherent problems. This craftsman did pass away a few months ago. Liv did go to the funeral, not in a diplomatic capacity.
I have a question for you. Would you like to activate Familiar Face off of this?
With who? And can I familiar face someone I made up? Great. Yes. Yes.
And the reason is, that is such an interesting paired action that as you say this, you hear her relay it into her radio. There's a beat, and she says, "That's a match. I'm afraid to say, madam, that your husband was a known terrorist." Liv has 4 pluses to luck, I might recommend.
Yeah, okay.
And
I'm going to tell Fitch that she is shocked, and they believe her.
And as you say this, you hear a massive slamming of metal, and the policeman looks around. Checkpoint breached! Retreater! Get her out of here! Evac! And as a couple of the reservists like pick you up again and start to heft you away, one of them says, "Ma'am, do you need medical attention? Do you need evac? We can get you to a hospital."
Yes. Liv clutches her stomach and pretends that she has started to have contractions from the stress.
And as you do so, you hear one of us says, no, damn it, no. And he says, "What do we do?" He says, "I don't know, you're the one with a kid." And the one who he yells said, "Fuck." And he yells, "We have a woman giving birth here. Woman giving birth. Someone said, send in a flyer if you need to." And you can see that one of the airships turns and starts to move towards your location.
Great.
Liv is a little ways away as John breaches the checkpoint. She still can see it happening and is being, like, heavily protected by this police force, who currently thinks her to be the unwitting aide of a terrorist, or at least, like, the completely innocent, like, side piece of a terrorist in this area.
Yeah, and she's very happy with this, of like, this explains the whole fucking thing of why she was there.
And as she is being led away, an airship coming down, quickly descending in altitude with its like high pressure jets turning into mist as it gets closer, so as to not like damage things with high pressure, like high pressure water. Turns it to mist instead, starts to slow its descent. You can see that a great bubble emanates from the bottom of it, but the bubble, you know, like a drip from a faucet, there's like that string of water and then the bell below it. Imagine that, but it's huge, like as big as a person, and it doesn't burst or drop. It just kind of hangs below like an egg sack almost. And the two men put you into the bubble.
Great.
You can breathe inside of it even. And you're held inside of it within this pocket of air as you are pulled up into the helicopter. Again, helicopter.
Yeah.
And as you are brought up, jumping back to Wituz.
Okay, I'd like to lift up my head and get all the birds to fly underneath it, because a storm is about to come and birds don't like to be flying in a storm. Is that acceptable? Do the birds accept?
I will accept that since they are conjured by your winds of change, they will accept this. Like little pile of birds atop head. The hat doesn't quite fit. It just like kind of like 6 inches above the top of your head with birds sticking out underneath.
Perfect. As Wituz continues to rage right after. At this point, he'd be like something around like 3 meters tall. I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, he's not at full size, but he's just noticeably bigger than he normally is.
Yeah. Okay. So screaming at the top of his lungs. Control! It's about control all the time with you people in power. Well, know one thing. You will never control the rain, and neither will you control the storm. As he lifts up the graven staff to the air, and I want to use my what's that? Feathered Head, I believe is the item's name.
Yeah.
To turn my final scream into a thunder.
Ooh, that's really cool. Yeah, and you'd be able to imitate that perfectly. Now, you notice, people react to the thunder not dissimilarly to how they reacted to the sunlight. They are, like, actively scared by it. And a bunch of them, like, duck down and look like they want to close their umbrellas. However, as like people cower in the nearby, also the airships change their position. Like immediately they start to descend in altitude, getting closer to you. Clearly not wanting to be high up enough that they get nailed by a lightning bolt.
Well, instead they are gonna get nailed by a monsoon, because this is winds of change.
Okay, another big
and
winds of change.
I'd like to inspire dread in my opponents, because I'm the one who controls the fucking rain here.
And this would be rain plus a wind, which they didn't have previously as well. And as the winds of change comes rushing in, remind me your spirit and will?
3 pluses to spirit. I believe 3 pluses to will. No, 2 pluses.
2 plus, well, okay, yeah, you're fine. This is a large winds of change, though, as you might imagine. Monsoon's a big thing, right? And though, admittedly, it's a very localized monsoon.
Yeah, like highly localized one.
Yeah, exactly. Are you okay with the monsoon completely cutting off the ray of light that you had opened earlier?
Totally.
Yep.
We are doing dread now.
Yeah. The wind comes whipping in. People get so low to their with their umbrellas that they look like Goombas from Super Mario. Yeah, just little feet sticking out under umbrellas, trying to like hunker down to not let the wind sweep away their umbrellas. But also, the hovercraft are highly disrupted by the wind. They clearly aren't used to dealing with it. And immediately, they start kind of bobbing and weaving, having to like rapidly use their jets to readjust their positions and not just get flung off course. As you have done so...
do they get low enough that I can hit them with the graven stuff?
No, definitely not that low. They would still be like comfortably 15 meters up or so.
Okay. And then I sort of like...
I love it. It's like using a broom to get rid of a spider, you know? Get out of here.
So at this point, I think you'd be almost like 4 meters, right? Probably.
Yeah, this would be like approaching his maximum size, especially with that very compelling anger.
Okay. He's also covered by like a fucking monsoon at this point.
Yeah,
winds,
the rain
right?
swirling around him wildly, which in so doing would also be like shredding his clothing and ripping at his face.
Right. I just kind of look to the crowd quickly and just like point towards the broken checkpoint, and at the top of my lungs shout, "Flee! Go now!"
And
And
as
just
you do
send,
so,
the last remaining protesters away.
yep, all flee besides one, the young man from earlier, who instead rushes towards you as the wind and the rain rips at his face, and he says, "Great uncle, you need to get out!"
Large hands, 4 meters tall. I'd like to quickly snatch him and get him underneath my weathered cloak, which has great environmental protection.
He looks up at you underneath the cloak and says, "You are going to be killed. You're going to be killed saying that. You need to get out of here."
So be it! But they shall know that they have no control over the storm. And Wituz just... Is there a building close to him or something?
Yeah,
Is there
you're
like
actually... the closest one would be the little cafe you poured it in outside of.
Sure, I take my... like anything that would be in reach of him like immediately if I were to just like bonk something.
Yep, absolutely.
So just bonk my graven staff onto like a random object that I find.
Yep.
And I'd like to again summon like the sound of a thunder.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, in that case, I have a great idea. You can whack a loose umbrella, because many people have dropped theirs.
Just whack it into the ground.
And as the thunder booms again, you can see that at last, one of the hovercraft has actually started to get low enough to be relevant. Like, it's at this point maybe 6 meters off the ground. So not, and it's coming down quite close to where Wituz is currently, and you can see that great bulb of water emit from the bottom as a group of like armored individuals are like dispatched from the helicopter, I keep saying helicopter, hovercraft's body. What would you like to do? This is about like 20 big boy paces away from you.
Fuck. This is gonna be a problem because I'm thinking about taking off my weathered cloak, which is gonna be a big problem when I'm being shrouded in a storm.
Yes, it is.
Sure. Wituz drops the weathered cloak, sort of like wraps the boy in the cloak and pushes him aside.
What does his clothing look like underneath the cloak?
Probably just like a tunic, something that people would wear like in like 1800s, but in very like foresty areas, like outside of civilization. And wraps him in the cloak, pushes him aside, He's wrapped in the cloak. I'd like to summon like a nice little safe spot for him. That's the effect of the Witcher cloak.
Yep.
But I'd like to use this as a defiance, as Wituz is going to be charging head first into the enemies, and just like a wave crashing into all of them and flinging them aside.
And as he roars, a barrage of high pressurized water bolts is launched at him. But given the protective effect of Great and Terrible, it would be kind of like, how do I describe this? Imagine swimming underwater as someone's trying to shoot arrows at you. You know, you feel them, they cut, but they're so dissipated by the water itself that they don't kill. And so as you are lanced by these jets of water rushing towards them, what do you want to do? There's 3 of them. They're all Hydromancers.
Yeah. Maybe one more thing. Can I pitch that as I have like given him the cloak and sent him backwards? Could I have sent him like into a shop?
Oh yeah, because you're using the weathered cloaks. Oh, you're using the frickin' weathered cloaks hideout.
On him.
That's
On
so
him.
sick. Oh my fucking god.
Which is why this is a defiance.
Awesome. That's so awesome. Yeah, quickly read out the wording on that for people who don't know it.
Sure. Weathered cloak. Old and battered, giving high environmental protection, which was convenient when I was being shrouded by a storm.
Yes.
I'll
Good
skip
class
over the
design,
second
yes.
part. And the last part. You may pitch a simple hideout and its supplies or furnishing activated by unhurriedly hanging the cloak up on a nearby terrain feature.
Yep. And
The nearby terrain feature being, in this case, the boy.
yes, indeed. So it's an energy work of it, but given your interactions with him, I accept it. And as you've gone, like, you've pretty much shoved him away. You have no idea where he's gone off to. As you like are rushing in, describe to me what you're doing as you're rushing in towards the Hydromancers with the hovercraft just above them. The hovercraft is starting to lift off, bringing its water bell back up, leaving them right underneath, continuing to fire water blasts at you.
This is just an old man walking angrily with intent and not caring about consequences.
Okay, so I heard charging earlier. Is it charging or is it like walking purposefully?
But I mean charging, but like, like power walking.
Yeah, okay, sure. And admittedly, you're still wheezing from the water in your lungs earlier, so rushing would be actually a little bit tough. In this case, as you literally just like...
He does have a +2 vigor.
Yes, exactly. So you can, and you're tall, so you can move quite fast. As you stride towards them, you see they immediately start to fan out, and the one directly in front of you would jet below him to bring himself up into the air to get some distance from you.
Is he within the reach of the Graven stuff?
Like a whack?
Yeah, bonk.
Yeah, as you go to swat at him, he jets himself away.
He's wanting to fly out of my way.
Yeah, he jets himself out of the way to dodge the attack. But he does have to move to, like, get away from you. You now have them at, like, your 12 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and 8 o'clock pretty much perfectly encircling you as they try to cut through your defenses with Great and Terrible.
Is the hover platform directly above me?
Yes, pretty much directly above you at this point.
And you! Back to the ground! A stomp just slam my Graven Staff both hands onto the ground. I'd like to activate the imbued power voice, right, and just like send a sonic wave upwards and make them sort of like collapse.
And as you do so, much like what John did with the Learnbound hovercraft, you knock it to the side wildly. And since its jets are currently trying to keep it upright, when it knocks sideways, it goes wildly towards the ground. And it smashes into the square nearby. The thing doesn't explode or anything. It's clearly like pretty well built to endure like a bonk like that, but it does completely ground it and lend it like ass over tea kettle, so bottom up. From here, however, the one of the Hydromancers nearby, or 2 of them rather, coordinate, pooling water between themselves to create a much larger water blast. What do you want to do?
Is there someone like really close to me who I could just get with the Graven stuff?
Again, all of the Hydromancers are fast and are using water jets to like scoot out of your way, so none of them are close to you.
Okay. Sure. I'd like to just suddenly like leap forward throw myself forward into like an elbow slam onto the ground, and I like to be a fucking crashing wave of water as I do that.
That's sick.
And amplify the sound with the graven staff, right? I'd be sort of like clutching it like this close to me, just...
Yep. And as you slam in, not only do you disrupt their attack, but you send both of them flying backwards as your rushing water slams into them before they are ready. That said, this also quite hurts Wituz as well. Like, the Great and Terrible is building to a point where it is starting to gnaw and claw at his skin like long-term exposure to rain will. Imagine, like... The sensation for him would be like having been outside in the rain, in cold rain for a day. His skin is starting to crawl and bump with goose pimples. Like he's having trouble moving. His bones are aching. His like everything is frigidly cold on his body.
Are the birds fine?
The birds are still under your hat. And correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the hat has environmental protection.
It does. That is reassuring.
Yeah. So the birds are, for now, relatively safe, but there's a lot of activity going on, and that might not be the case for long.
Sure. Okay, can I think a bit about my next action?
Yes, totally. Let us jump back over to... we might need to catch up a little. No, we'll do John first, and then Olivia. Okay, John, pushing your way into this next thoroughfare area as police reinforcements are coming in. They've obviously started to escalate because they've seen weapons. What do you want to do?
Oh, we will escalate ourselves as...
you have your Garethix going too to push them back.
The Garethix was going to push them back, but also he's going to reach into one of the pockets on his belt and just throw out like a tiny disc about yay big.
Yeah.
That then projects a holographic banner.
Excellent.
As he brings out the 10 remaining people of his squad.
Me and the boys joining in the riot.
Yes. And those people should not need much guidance on what to do at that point, I think.
Oh yeah. White umbrella good, not white umbrella bad.
Yeah. Yes. But he would try to funnel, like this is a regular street. He would try to funnel the people into an alleyway instead of just randomly down the street wherever they would want to go.
How are you going to try to funnel people? Again, it is a riot, and you are only nominally being listened to.
Garethix is up. This man,
Yep.
John, has 2 pluses to vitality.
Yep.
He is somewhat of an authority figure at this point, which
And
is
you got
also
your mantle
boosted by
too?
the mantle he has.
Yep.
Yes. So he will just try to like swerve the motorcycle to perform like almost and this is gonna make them a bit mad, maybe just a police style traffic this way, please.
Nice.
Off of its motorcycle.
Well, they don't have cars here, so they don't have traffic cops here. But the another question for you. You said you were looking for an alleyway. You have a bunch of options to choose from on both sides of the street nearby you. So you have staircases that lead up to nearby businesses. You have these kind of aerial walkways that kind of wind out into like nearby apartment blocks, like as a foot traffic area to get people to their homes.
Yeah.
You have down into the canals, which is, meh. But the canals have sluice gates. You remember hearing that earlier. And
yeah,
then...
I think that would be the modus operandi, trying to keep them as low as possible. And maybe not send them directly into a building or something like that. That sounds like a stupid idea when you disperse a riot.
Yeah, in that case, how are you going to, like, so your pull-up is great, and your kind of directing position also great. How are you going to communicate to people exactly your intention for them? Because, like, going into the canal is not only, like, not something they clearly do very often around here, but also it's a bit of a drop, and then you have to swim, and then there's a closed sluice gate that they'd have to try to find a way through. So it's not an obvious route. What do you want to do?
Right. For now, I think it would be just guiding them in the rough direction at this point. Just
Like,
trying to
get into the canal?
overyell their concerns by just, like, yeah. Just go. Keep down, keep low. Those damn hovercraft cannot get you there.
And
As he, like, guides them.
absolutely. And a few of, especially the people who have been closest to you during this, go, like, follow your lead, pretty much immediately, like jumping down into the canal below, which you see is shallow enough that they can keep their heads above water, even the shortest among them. So probably like just over a meter deep. And as people are starting to go down, the majority of the rioters, they want to fight. Like they're trying to push out, and like going down into a canal also would be like kind of dangerous, you know, because you're low, you're below your enemies. It's a confined space. You're in water, so you can't move as well. Lots of stuff. What do you want to do from here as you're at least getting some people offside?
The final problem would be the sluice gate. I
Yeah.
think he would just go to 6 of his people individually and just go, please do something about that, and give the final one that I shall name. And I'm also bad at naming people on the spot.
Jonathan. You got John, this one is Jonathan.
You know, like these are not last name kind of people, so this one will be I just gonna go with Chang.
Yeah.
And he will just like pack his tool bag and just throw it at him.
Yep. And Chang will say, "On it, Sinclair," and rush over to the side and jump down into the canal as well. As you are directing traffic and getting people down into the canals, you would hear a person from the canal, the first person to jump in, yell up, "It's unguarded!" And from here, we're going to jump back over to Olivia. Brought up into the hovercraft, you would find yourself in a smooth receiving bay, relatively small. And from here, it's, again, a very cramped conditions. It's an aircraft, after all. But you can hear the chatter of, like, a command post ahead of you. And behind you, as soon as you come up and in, you feel a set of arms, and you hear a woman's voice saying, "You're experiencing contractions. Can you tell me when they started, please?"
Yep. Leaning in to playing panicked. She's like, I don't know. So much has been going on. I don't. I'm sorry.
Do you know how far out your delivery date is?
Yes. I'm only in my my second trimester.
You hear a
not
hiss
time.
from under her breath. "Tss," and she says, "That's no good." She says, "Do you need to be sedated? Do you need calming? Or are you experiencing severe pain?"
She shakes her head. She says, please, no, don't sedate me. Please don't sedate me.
And she says, "Understood. I need to coordinate with the hospital. Please sit calmly." She sits you down in it's a very, actually, incredibly comfortable seat. Clearly has some sort of, like, water element to it as well. And it kind of, like, you feel yourself kind of, like, lean and sink back into it. And you feel just kind of even though Liv is not experiencing contractions, it's not comfy being pregnant, and she would feel kind of a rush of relief through her body just from sitting on this thing. It's just, "I need to coordinate with the hospital. Please wait just a moment." And she goes hurrying out the back of the room, the opposite direction of the command post, and you hear her jump on a communicator as well.
Now questions.
Yep.
Are these hovering ships the same as the ships blocking the checkpoints?
The ships blocking the checkpoints are of a similar style, but clearly a different design. It would be kind of like a truck versus a car. You know what I mean? They're both like vehicles that are powered the same way, but they have different roles. And so it seems like these are both hovercraft, but the ones blocking the checkpoints seem to be meant to be close to the ground and are much heavier and bulkier.
Great. Can I, by the way, set the chair?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Can the chair send out one command of retreat to all the vehicles?
Ooh, that's really interesting.
Yep. Just like it just
I'm gonna say
it has some buttons, and she can smash some buttons and it does something.
Okay.
If a more general pitch would work better.
I think that this object doesn't lend itself well enough to that, because this is like a relief chair rather than like a command chair.
Okay.
Do you want to hold that by the wayside?
What?
Do you want to hold the by the wayside or do a different effect on this chair?
I have one more pitch, but again, I don't know if it'll work.
Let's hear it.
Okay, so it's a relief chair. So what if, like I pitch that it projects relief and like a calming impact on the guarding people, and I can ritual knife some shit with this too.
What I will give you is I will give that it can project a relieving aura that will affect this vessel.
Great. Let's go with that and see how that works.
Sure. Paired action for By the Wayside.
Yeah, I'm gonna Liv feels the rush of calm and looks down and finds that the chair contains some buttons.
Yeah.
That she hadn't noticed, and Liv, being generally curious and lucky, just starts pressing them and sees what happens.
And as she does so, she would feel the kind of magical thrum of her By the Wayside. And you would hear that almost immediately the quality of radio chatter that's generally like purposeful, calm, serious, somewhat panicked, but under control, kind of mellows out a little bit. The words start coming not quite as fast or as sharp. What would she do from here? Again, she's in like a main bay of the vehicle, and then there's like a very, very small side room that the medic went into, and then there's like the cockpit area, the bridge, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. She She is gonna like take a few deep breaths, but then she's gonna go get up and go walk towards the cockpit area.
Yep. As she does so, she feels her stomach kind of lurch and her head lighten slightly as the hovercraft like jets up into the air. Like being on a fast elevator, kind of. But she gets to the entrance to the cockpit. It does have like a door, but the door has a window and doesn't seem to be locked. You can just slide it open. In the cockpit beyond, it has a great open windscreen area that gives them like 180-degree vision, including low 180-degree vision, because it opens out below. And you can see that the vehicle seems to have like two pilots that are both positioned in these like weird forward-facing chairs, kind of, that make their heels kind of go back. Weird to describe, but like, imagine one of those like stretching machines that like 60-year-olds love. Besides that, you can see that they have a coordinator behind them of some kind, and then there's a communication operator off to the side. So there's 4 people.
Okay.
Do you need a moment to think?
Yes, and Familiar Face is on cooldown still,
Yes,
right?
it is.
Yeah, that's fine.
Jumping over to Wituz. What would you like to do from here? Crash landed the ship, Hydromancer around you, rushing wave, starting to really feel it off of Great and Terrible. What's next?
So have I collided with the ground yet, or not?
Yes, you have.
Okay. Picking myself up, he would seem like an absolute mountain at this point, just like rising up again.
Huge.
Would Winds of Change be off cooldown?
I believe Winds of Change has a mid cooldown, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, in that case, not quite yet.
Okay. In that case, maybe this is gonna be sort of like a last action to Great and Terrible. He with this sort of like looks around, inspects the surroundings. How many people are there right now?
You have
actively like knocked to the ground.
Yep. So you have 3 Hydromancers, 2 of which are downed at the moment. You have maybe 24 lingering members of the rioters/crowd. So like 6 or so rioters, like kind of scattered, kind of keeping away, and then like 1.5 dozen like onlookers who are slowly creeping out of the surrounding businesses to like see what the hell is going on. And then you also have, at the moment, 1 person visible trying to get out of the hovercraft, kind of scrambling to come out of where the water emitted from it, like it's bay at the bottom.
What? You wanted to find Nars Enyd, didn't you? Well, why don't you try and find him? And he gets the warden pipe, and I'd like to inhale deeply. Inhaling through the church warden pipe Calms down, people. It's definitely going to help with ending Great and Terrible.
Indeed.
I want to picture that as he's like inhaling, as the smoke fills his, as he gets like filled with the smoke, he continues to grow menacingly still. But as he's going to exhale, he's going to rapidly get smaller. Like
Oh, that's really cool. I love that visual.
And my last third action, or like my last thing I want to do with Great and Terrible here is make all the water and stormy clouds and all the stuff I'm surrounded with, make it just turn into mist. Deep mist.
Easily
As
done.
he's
That was. It kind of replicates what they were doing earlier to mist the area, and
Yeah.
as you do so, shrinking down, you feel your shoulders aching. Your whole body is shivering violently, like you're experiencing hypothermia at the moment. But
Okay.
as you are doing so, you hear a set of footsteps, unarmored, and an umbrella comes through the mist. It is one of the protesters, not one that you're familiar with. And you hear her voice say to you, "You're a damn fool. You're a damn idiot fool, but that was brilliant." And she says, "Do you need refuge? We can try to protect you. I think a route has opened up."
Would she be referring to the checkpoint that has just
Yes.
been opened? I was personally thinking about, this is out of character what I'm saying,
Yeah.
I was personally thinking about going to the cafe, which I turned into an improvised hideout.
Yeah.
But
No, that could work too, especially because like if everyone's going in one direction, going in another direction is usually a pretty good way to avoid detection.
but at the same time, I think they are probably gonna need help over there. So
Possibly, though you're pretty spent after all of that.
I can still do shouting.
You can still do shouting.
We'll see.
Even with the fluid in your lungs. It would be well, think about what you could ask her that could help clarify that.
I mean, do I see her face?
Yes, she actually lifts the umbrella, and it is the
Oh.
one Olivia interacted with earlier, with the heavy acid scarring that slumps half of her face.
Well, let's hurry. And he just nods and follows behind.
And as she is starting to turn, you would feel another rapid set of footsteps. And she turns around, looking hesitant, but the young man emerges from the mist as well. He, at the moment, doesn't have his umbrella. And he says, Great uncle, I found a hiding spot. You wouldn't believe how good it is. Quick.
Does he have my cloak?
He does still. He doesn't have your cloak on him. It's clearly still hung up for the hideout.
Okay. Thank you for the help, boy. I'll manage. Go rest. You have done your part.
And the woman says, "What part did he do?"
Who knows? Which it certainly doesn't.
And the youth says, "I'm not leaving you alone again after that, great uncle." And the woman who's kind of ushering the two of you on says, "Right, well, good. I need to coordinate up here." And she points to the youth and says, "Get him into the canal. Move to sluice gate 85-9. And he says, "But he's freezing." And she says, "He'll have to manage, won't he?" And
I have been through worse, he says as he's clearly on the verge of dying.
yep. And the youth holds a moment as the woman goes hurrying off through the mist. But then he notices something that she pressed into his hand. He closes it and tucks it away in a pocket as he rushes over to the nearest canal and beckons you, Come, I'll help you down."
He starts climbing. Is there like a ladder?
Yes, there is. They do have access ladders to get down.
He starts climbing, and then he suddenly stops and realizes that he still has the birds, and opens his head for them to fly out.
Birds go flying off and away.
Including my eye in the sky.
Yeah. as the hoopoe goes soaring off as well. Some of the birds look a little bedraggled and unhappy, but fortunately you weren't knocked down or anything of that nature, so they were able to stay tucked under the hat. Getting into the water is unbelievably miserable. You are already experiencing hypothermia. This is cold frickin' water that is now up to your belly button.
Ouch. Would be convenient to have my wizard cloak right now.
Sure.
I suppose for now he cannot do anything, but just sort of like try not to freeze. Is the boy coming with me?
Yes, he is down. He like drops into the water, gets an arm, like puts your arm around his shoulder and starts like pushing through the current of the canal. Just this way, great uncle. You're gonna be all right. As you are going, you literally are feeling your legs wanting to give out. You don't have a plus to resilience, I believe, right?
No.
No, like your legs want to give out. Your stamina, which was already not doing fantastically, is now like well into low yellow because being cold makes you tired and weak. And again, you're also battling a current on top of all of that. What would Wituz do as he is being led by this youth?
Get the pipe to sort of calm himself. Inhale very softly because I think he'd be too tired.
Yeah, and his teeth are chattering as well.
Yeah. Do not worry about me. I always find my way out. And he's going to pass the pipe towards the boy who has earned it, at least in the eyes of Wituz. And I'd like to activate, as I'm giving him the pipe, I'd like to activate Winds of Change. I hope those are off cooldown.
That is off cooldown, though only barely. What are you going to be doing with it?
Well, maybe the water just sort of like lowers, and like nice little like vegetation sprouts, like some flowers and such.
Ooh, that's nice. You could do like duckweed and like water plants growing on the water as well.
Sure.
Yeah. Do you want to make
And
the
I
water
want to summon-
warmer?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. That is totally an unseasonable change in the environment.
Right.
And that's a much milder Winds of Change. That is a much more typical Winds of Change. And I'm guessing Hope is the effect off of that one.
Certainly. And I'd like to be inspiring mostly myself here, to be honest.
Yeah. And as you're going, so the warm water helps enormously. However, jumping back over to John and then to Olivia, John, you do not know this, but this is the exact same canal that your people are in. Back above water, you're at street level again. There's still a lot of rioting going on. You've only diverted like a small contingent towards that sluice gate, including 6 of your guys. What do you want to be doing from here?
So I've sent people to the sluice gate, and the people are going to the sluice gate. I'm still up,
Yep,
and
you're up at street level.
trying to command both my people and those few I've armed that are still back
Yeah.
to keep the constabulary at bay.
Are you going to be... okay, so you've only armed a very small number. You know for a fact at least
Yep.
a few have died and a few have gone down into the canal. So you have very, very few left from that initial group of 8 or so.
I think this is still where he would try to make his stand for at least a little while longer.
Is he going to be holding position kind of near where he had directed people off into the sluice gate, or is he going to be pushing out
Yes.
elsewhere to try to redirect attention?
I think he's gonna stay there.
Yep, absolutely. And as he does so, the Garrethinks is at the tail end of its duration, but it's still enough that the riot has pushed away the law enforcement pretty substantially, but now they have more hovercraft coming in with the great, shoving barricades. They're not on you guys yet, but these great vehicles, and they're not moving fast, clearly still trying to contain rather than kill. But they are certainly, the great vehicles are not nearly as daunted by the Garrethinks as the foot soldiers, who are kind of rallying around the major vehicles as tanks to clear the waves of the crowd rushing them.
Yeah. Question. Is Shield Wall off cooldown?
You have, I think everything besides Garathinks is off right now.
Yeah. That's a question. Like, how many people are still going? Like, how many still? No. I'm trying to figure out if you would drop it yet, but I don't think, because there's still a great many people going everywhere.
Yeah.
And not to where he was trying to get them. Though the shield wall might actually help with that.
That's true. Though planting the shield wall to try to redirect crowd would also immediately direct law enforcement to realizing there's a breach.
See, like, I didn't think, but now it kind of sucks that we didn't figure out who ours is.
Yeah.
Either way. Yeah, I think then that's just gonna, like, he's gonna stay there for a while longer, trying to keep the guardman at bay.
And is he going to be taking to the front lines or staying backwards in a coordinating position on his motorcycle?
He's very much going to try to go to the front lines.
Yeah.
Like the way crowd dynamics work, at some point it's a self-sustaining flow,
Yep.
I think.
Mounted or foot?
Mounted.
Yeah, and I'm guessing gunning the engine to make sure no one gets in the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your, like, vehicle rushing up, this is yet another thing that makes the foot constabulary be like, absolutely fucking not, and like retreat back to the vehicles. They don't want to be like driven over or anything like that. But you can still ride alongside, easily whack them down with the great zaps hitting them through their armor. And as you were doing so, this would be the point where the vehicles are getting close, and you can see that on their barricades, kind of like the cannon ports of an old-timey ship, they pop open these little, like, lids, revealing water cannons underneath, forward-facing.
I have a fun idea.
Yeah.
Like, he is going to place the bastard sword back, get his pike out, uncollapse it, and just try to jam it into one of the gun ports.
And
then discharge it.
Yes. As you are doing so, I'm guessing you're going to try to do it before they shoot. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Excellent. And the sound that this makes is awful. Just like a blasting, snapping crack. You are actually thrown backwards off of your motorcycle, but in so doing, half of the hovercraft's lower jets turn off, and it kind of like clunks sideways onto the ground, having been partially short-circuited.
That's fun. Yeah, but like now on foot, he's gonna try to size the people in that direction up a bit.
Yep,
But
and you
fall
have
back a
also,
bit with the
because
crowd.
you've once again taken out a vehicle, you've opened up another aisle. It's not as good as the last one, but like this vehicle can now only kind of move like in a pirouetting style, and because of that, your crowd can start to get around it, and the foot gendarmes that are around it are no longer safe. And so this now is being swarmed.
I think that's kind of good enough. Like, he will let himself fall back into towards the sluice gate where it directed most of the people.
Yep, absolutely. You hear the gunning of your engine as one of the rioters gets on your motorcycle.
That's good.
Jumping back over to Olivia, you are up right outside of the cockpit looking in. What do you want to do?
Yes. She wants to open the door and peek in and be like, hi?
And you can see that the coordinator of the vehicle whips around. What are you doing? You need to be in your relief chair. We need to get you to the hospital, ma'am. One more time.
Yeah, sorry, Mike is being
No
dumb.
problem, no problem.
She smiles and is looks out the window and says, I'm sorry. I'm just what if other people are lost? I am worried.
He looks sympathetic, but grits his teeth and comes over to you inside of the cockpit. He kind of like gently takes your hand and moves it out of the doorframe and says, We are going to try our very best to make sure everyone gets home. They might serve a prison sentence first, but they'll be home. We understand that you've been somewhat swept up in all of this, and we're going to make sure that you can get to the hospital safely and deliver your child, and that you get home as soon as you possibly can. There won't be any charges against you, I promise. As he is saying this, with Liv having a full view out the window, she would see two things. One, she would see the small breakaway group of rioters going into the canals, and she would see some guys armored and armed like John among them. She would also see in that same canal, a little ways up, going in that direction, the distinct outline of Wituz, at least his hat and his stick.
Okay, I know what she's gonna try to do. And she's gonna try to make a big fucking distraction.
Yeah.
How is she gonna distract them? She is gonna
Do you need a moment? I can check in with Wituz first.
I have like a rough concept of trying to like pretend some sort of like deity presence connected with her as a pregnant woman associated with water, drawing on the fact that like her actual grounding is also connected to a water deity. So maybe
You don't know how religious these people are, though, and these guys don't seem old.
No, she doesn't know how religious they are, but she does know that they will be aware of the religion.
That's true.
Yes. They don't need to believe in it. They need to have a knowledge of it that she can play off of.
Okay. And what's that going to look like?
Yeah.
Do you need a moment to think? Totally fine to give it so.
Yeah, is there, what is in her immediate proximity?
Yep, so she has the, inside of the bay, she has a number of, like, bay functions. She has no idea how they work.
Yep.
Equipment, probably jumpsuits, things like that. It's complicated for her. She's right in the doorway of the cockpit area. The cockpit area has, again, all sorts of strange gauges and dials and mechanisms that she absolutely has no fucking clue what they do. There's the communication bit off to the left. You can see the communicator is still down, the guy transmitting messages. And then directly in front are the two pilot's chairs, which are, again, kind of like forward recumbent seats where they're kind of laying on their bellies.
Great. Okay. She's gonna take out the ritual knife, but like I want it to seem more like a pretty thing that she has. Like kind of an ornate, just not inherently dangerous, just like an ornate thing.
Would you like to hold it by the blade?
Yes, but I want her to like grip it a little bit tight and have water start dripping from her hand instead of blood.
Ooh, arcane step?
+1.
Yeah, that is a totally worthy +1 arcane thing. And as you are, it's very, very subtle.
Wait, I think +1. Let me confirm. Sorry, before I don't want to lie. No, arcane's baseline. Sorry.
That's fine. I will still let you get away with it, but it's not going to be visible, especially at first. The man is still looking you in the eye. He's concerned, but he's firm, and he is clearly trying to like usher you back into the bay. What do you want to do?
She wants to kind of, even if it's not visible, she wants to like somehow get like the dripping over some of his skin so that he just feels wet.
Oh, well, in that case, since he has like a hand on you trying to push you out, you could like literally just like pass your clenched hand over his.
That.
Yeah. After doing so, he would, you can see, look to see what's on his skin. What do you want to do?
I want it to be water, but I also how should I do this? Can I luck pitch a prophecy?
Ooh, that would be quite the hefty luck pitch.
No, it might not work out well.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah.
Especially for like a relatively a-religious or a society that's losing its religion.
Yeah. No, I think she would. She'd start just acting a little bit strange and ethereal. Like her behavior would be slowly shifting from panicked to like she's going to go for that she is currently being inhabited by something.
What will she say?
Great. Okay. So she drops all aspects of panic from her being because it was fake panic, and gets almost like unnervingly calm.
Yeah.
And she looks at them with like compassion and says, "Child, you seem lost."
He calls over his shoulder, "Medic, I think she's hallucinating." And you hear the footsteps of the medic. He says, "Ma'am, I'm no children here. I promise we have the situation under control. It's all right."
Okay. She with the ritual knife? Adjusts her grip to run it over an object in the thing, and it starts like deflating but letting out liquid.
Oh, like a puncturable thing.
Yeah. Yes, but the object shouldn't be puncturable.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is trying to truly ritual knife something.
Yeah.
Okay. Give me an idea of like what sort of thing, broadly speaking. Is this like a fluid conduit, or is this like a button, or is this like a mechanism, or what?
She's looking for like a solid object that she can like press the knife into, and when she removes it, it starts draining water.
Still kind of hiding it in her fist?
Hiding it in her fist until she like she goes over and reaches towards an object, blocking it with her body, puts the ritual knife in, pulls it out, and then the object starts melting into water.
How about the door?
Yes, that.
Okay. The ritual knife wants a sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
So how are you going to handle that? Sacrificing the door is not necessarily something a ritual knife will be happy with.
Yeah, 100%.
Here, let me let you think on that for a moment, because Wituz is about to catch up.
Great.
And Wituz, you can see as you trudge through the now quieter or like the now warmer and warmer water, your body less painful as you do so, but you're still exhausted and you're still weak. The youth helping you as you go. You can see up ahead the small queue of people whispering excitedly amongst themselves, their umbrellas up, some of them trying to get down into the water to make themselves like less obvious from here, with all the pandemonium going on just up and above at street level. You also hear the sounds of like grinding and chipping and tapping away. Not that he would know it yet, but the sluice gate is being cut away. What would Wituz do from here as he is coming to this like aisle, like, or this side alley in the canal that leads to a sluice gate?
Question, was it sort of like branching off of several points?
Yes.
Okay. Well, first of all, after doing the Winds of Change, I'd like to grasp at the wall and get a patch of dry moss, which I would summon into existence.
Sure, I'm okay with that.
Fine. And I'd like to briefly close my eyes and contact Eye in the Sky, just a very brief contact.
And the eye notes two things that are serious problems. Well, first of all, there's the good news. The good news is that the riders are actually making massive inroads. Though with all the pandemonium, it's harder to identify John as the exact culprit here. Second of all, there are 2 of the high-up hovercraft that are not focusing in on the crowd. There is one that's pulling up and away and looks like it was going to leave, but has turned and is clearly focusing in on the alley, like the sluice gate, the people who are escaping. Another one is much closer and lower and is directly focusing in on the sluice gate. Clearly, the two, these are like the main 2 enemy presences that have recognized that people are escaping.
Okay. So first of all, how many people do seem to be flooding like into this specific location?
Into the escape area, not many. It's like less than 40. And in the grand scheme of hundreds of riders, that's actually pretty small.
Okay.
However, given what your eyes in the sky have seen, even though the rioters have pushed in, like they've pushed out of the square, they've broken through one of the barricades, there are so many more reinforcements waiting for them. The police can just keep cutting off and cutting off and cutting off until they like eventually get the riot to stop.
Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. Maybe it's burner time. My question is, have I suffered enough that I don't have to do an extra sacrifice? Burner.
I would say almost certainly, depending on the substantiality of the secret you're learning.
Not much really. I have been... That random woman spoke to me and tried to get me out. She seems to know way more than the average protester, definitely way more than the boy I talked to here.
Yep.
So she probably is tied to Nars and it far more than like most average people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And since she pointed me in this direction and she believes that I'm like a powerful ally here,
Yeah.
it's quite probable that Nars Enyd is in here.
Yeah.
As well. Like right here in the sewer.
That totally makes sense, and that follows just from intelligence.
Okay.
You have some time to think while you're trudging through the water being cold.
Okay. What do I see as I see them trying to open the thing?
So you see a group of John's guys. Again, Wituz would see they're dressed the same way as John was, and they have some cool like a toolkit, and they're like boring their way through the bars of the sluice gate to open it up and let people through. However, the group of people behind them, huddled beyond, again, it's like 30-ish or so. Most of them are completely concealed with their umbrellas, so you really can't pick out anything about them besides the youth that's carrying you alongside.
So I cannot really see anyone in particular.
Yeah. Besides John's guys, your little companion, that's about it.
Fuck. Alright. I guess that's the end of Miss Burner. May have been just a regular intelligence.
Oh, those are just intelligence insights. If you want to go for a full like secret, you're welcome to do so.
Yeah, but like I haven't seen anyone's face, so that's kind of hard to do.
Well, you've seen 2 faces, but.
And I don't really care about which one of them in particular it is. Look, they seem to have a plan. Does it seem reasonable that once they get out of this section, they are not being found?
Well, given that it was when you were in assembly, you were or in mission statement, you were told that the police had cut off sewer entrances. However, given that this is an area the police didn't expect the riot to get to, these are probably not guarded. Or if they're going to be guarded, assuming that people can get out quickly and might give them time to flee.
Okay. And the hover platforms that are trying to open the same way that they are trying to enter the same way that I entered, right?
The hovercrafts are not trying to enter. They are just kind of like closing in on your current location, clearly trying to identify what the hell the rioters are doing down here. And presumably, once they find out, they'll be able to contact the rest of their team to like cut off this.
Oh, so we are not like in a sheltered space, like we can see.
Oh, you are, but it's canals, so they're not easily seen from the street level because there's a sharp drop off. But from a flying hovercraft's position, they can see directly down in.
Yeah, and we can see at them.
Yes, you
right?
can.
Okay. And John's men are kind of like trying to open the grate, right?
Yep.
Okay. I was going to do something a bit different with this. But yeah, I want to get my patch of dry moss. Sort of like twist it like this around in my hands. Manifestation 1+2 arcane. I'd like to summon like a handheld fire.
Yeah, I'm A-okay with that.
Excuse me, I think I can help with this. He kind of like makes his way through the people.
Let him through! Let him through! The boy, like, shoves people out of the way to let you through. And as you get to John's guys, one of them says, "Hey there, old-timer. On the squad?
Yes.
What do you got for us?"
Please, aside. This may get a bit dangerous.
You got it. Come on, folks. Step on back.
And I'd like to sort of like suspend the little like ball of fire midair, if that's possible.
Yep.
Get behind it, and through my Braven stuff, just deeply inhale and exhale a lot of like wind into the fire and make it spread out over the grate.
Yeah. And as you blast fire towards the gate, you see that it leaves it red hot, and John's men immediately leap back in, grab out some of their like automated power tools, and drill at the heated metal to break it in. All right, through everyone, through. And as they start helping, step down in. Thank you very much. Move in through. Leave the umbrella. There's no room for it in there. Come on, let's keep going. As they make like a little assembly line to get the riders through, you still have the youth standing at your side. Olivia, tell me what you want to do.
Yep. I have a pitch that's not exactly a sacrifice, but is a thing the knife knows.
Let's hear it.
Okay, so Liv wants the property that the knife is aware of to happen to the door that happens when Herjan sacrifices a piece of himself.
Oh, that's very cool. Okay.
Yo!
Brief backstory context. Give brief backstory context.
Okie dokie. Liv's spouse, Herjan, is the child of two different cultures. Each culture has its own deity. One of the deities is like a blood, time, sacrificey god. The other one is a water goddess, fertility, that kind of vibe. So when Herjan sacrifices a piece of himself, he, because like he and Liv are romantically entwined, requested to use her ritual knife for emotional significance between them.
Mm-hmm.
When he made his first sacrifice, he sacrificed his tongue, and when that happened, instead of it turning into blood, it turned into a watery, inky liquid as it dripped onto the tree. So like, and the tongue that grew back, instead of being just a shadow solid form, was also liquid. So the knife is aware of like water magic and things becoming liquid.
Okay. That is actually quite beautiful justification. However, as you run the clenched knife, concealing it lightly from view along the door, you would feel the toll it takes on you.
Yeah.
This is a substantial investment. But as the medic is hurrying back over saying, "Oh my God, I told her to stay put," and the captain hisses back to her, "Make sure she stays put. We're in the middle of a sensitive operation and we see people fleeing right now. We need to get this under control." But as this happens, the medic halts in her tracks. Oh dear. As the door melts, the captain puts a hand on Liv's shoulder and says, "Ma'am, are you in possession of magical capacities we should be aware of?"
Pitch from the two prior familiar faces, Liv would know the name of the deity that they're supposed to worship.
Oh, actually, I am okay with that.
Of just information she would have gained from prior things.
Enyd.
Right. So Liv, in like the calmest, most serene manner, looks at them, not entirely engaged, like looks at them, but not necessarily, like kind of through them as well, and says, "I am here in part for Eve to help.
You see them look at each other. You see the captain swallow visibly. That's very nice. Can you please sit in the chair? Please. You feel the medic put her hand on your other shoulder. Ma'am, it's going to be all right. Let's get you seated. You can see the two of them are trading eyes. They're like trying to like desperately talk to each other with their eyes to figure out what the fuck is going on. What do you want to do?
Mm-hmm. I need her to time lapse a bit to get some abilities back. So she's gonna go sit down.
This would, by the way, be the equivalent of like a random man in New York holding a subway door, having the subway door like melt, and then saying, "That was God," or something like it completely fucking out of left field. It's super weird for them. But
she's going for that though.
Yeah, as you are being like gently escorted back over by the very rattled medic. Wituz, a quick question. Are you going to be going down into the sluice, like through the sluice gate with the escapees?
I mean, it seems perfectly reasonable to me that they are not going to need my help in there, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm standing and I'm guarding for as long as possible.
The youth stands next to you, but as he does so, this needs one brief bit of context. Olivia, as you're sat back down, you would hear the captain on board the bridge say, "All right, what's happening to the..." And you would hear a quick, like, whispered exchange, and then, actually, no, you have double plus to sensory. You would actually hear it.
Yes, you do.
It says, "What's happening to the escapees? They're not going to be able to get through the gates, sir." And then you hear, what's going on there, then? Okay, report quick. Escapees through sluice gate 85-9, I believe that is. Get coordination around. We need to prepare for a rinse. Immediate rinse. Coordinate with other vehicles. And you feel the vehicle start to fly like straight, not in the direction that they had been flying earlier. Like the vehicle had turned, and so it starts hovering slowly. And the medic says, "We need to get to the hospital." "No, we do not. She can have the baby here." Additionally, John, down below, as you are brawling on the front lines, like, then losing your bike, retreating back to a more coordinated position, you would also see the two airborne hovercraft converging in over the location where people are fleeing into the sluice gate. Wituz would see this as well. The hovercraft clearly are aware of the escapees and are trying to cut them off in some way.
Okay. Would my bird be able to hear my whistling?
Yeah, you have your feathered hat rather, so you can make it appear right.
Oh yeah, I can even summon it from different directions. Exactly. Yeah. So Wituz is just gonna whistle, which is going to sound just like the chirping of the Eurasian hoopoe, and they can summon. They can. Too much English for today. They can follow simple instructions, right?
Yes.
Okay. Instructions are press colorful buttons on hover pads.
And John, any actions you'd like to take before I check in with Olivia?
I have an idea for a somewhat disgusting energy work, which we shall try all the same. Like with all these sci-fi things going on, seeing these hovercraft, John distinctly remembers the ship he had been on, the barge trying to gun the barricade being shredded apart upon hitting on the sort of energy shielding the enemies had.
Yeah.
And what he will try to do is he will try to, shouting "not today," raise his shield, trying to make a shield wall cut through either one, or if I get away with that, even both of the hovercraft.
Oh, God. How do you like your essence pool?
He has 2 pluses to spirit.
That's true.
If this takes him into the red, that's fine by me. I don't think he would expend it to the point of dying from it
Yeah.
just yet.
In that case, as he roars not today, brandishing his shield to the sky, his shield wall would not cut the hovercraft, but it would wedge into it, like jam into the bottom of one of them. This expenditure would immediately drop John into the red. Like, lights jumping in front of his eyes, the sky becomes outer space, the rain becomes bits of like spaceship debris in the midst of the fight that he's been visualizing through all of this, and all of the noise converts to the shouting and the alarm klaxons of the bridge. As he has done so, however, Olivia, actions that you would like to take.
Liv's mad her distractions aren't working.
Goddamn competent people.
Correct. She's used to people being dumber.
Yeah.
So she she is gonna.
I can smell your brain working, being like, how do I not kill myself?
Yeah, I can't kill her, and I need her to do something.
Yeah, exactly. How do I do something drastic without being risky and exposing myself to massive harm?
Also, still very little care for self, but very big care for baby.
Yes, exactly.
So a very tricky headspace to maintain.
It is fun seeing you struggle with it, though.
It's so much harder. This character banks on doing dumb shit.
That's true. She is starting to realize the perks of being visibly pregnant, though, I can guess.
Yes. No, she's happy with this, but like she is trying to figure out a way to get more attention.
Upside and downside.
Yes.
What does she want to try?
She wants to okay.
You got it.
Who is making physical contact with her right now?
Medic.
Great. She wants to, like, again, ritual knife is still in hand, barely any of the blade showing, but enough to make contact.
Mm-hmm.
She wants to draw a line down the medic's arm with it. It feels pressury and maybe makes a light scratch, but the scratch, instead of beating with blood, beads with water. She is trying to unnerve the medic and and I want it to not hurt pulling on Nolo Nayana, but also like pulling heavily on the Nolo Nayana thing, but also on the sacrifice concept from a Veti Bear. So still pulling from both, which would make the knife happiest.
And as you pull down, the medic pulls her arm away, looks at it, looks at you. Captain! Captain! And you hear him say, keep her managed! And the medic looks at you, actually like taking a step back as she looks down to your hand. And she says, I think she has a blade, Captain.
Has what?
A blade.
Yeah. Great. Luck pitch, and I think she has one to skill. Great. With like luck and like the one to skill, can she like react back in shock, but while she's reacting back, put the ritual knife in her satchel and pull out a seashell.
Ooh, that's kind of cool. Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, so this kind of like a staggered backwards, like I'm guessing spluttering and like protests and
Yeah,
things
like,
like that.
oh, what? Wait, a blade? Who has a blade? Oh my god, are we safe?
And as you do so, the captain hurries back out of the thing, sees the seashell in your hand, and says, "Are you trying to sabotage this operation?" And the man says, "I am absolutely not. Look at that. That's not what she had in her hand earlier. Ma'am, please let me see that."
Liv hands over the seashell. It's just a pretty one.
Does this look like... That is not what she had in her hand earlier. I don't care what she had in her hand earlier. Manage her! Manage her, damn it! And as the two of them are arguing, you would also notice something. So the bay, like the water bell bay that you entered through, has opened slightly. You could hypothetically like hop out, but it has like a big screen of water over the front. And as it opens, a bird pops through with a beautiful orange plumage and a crest. The bird kind of ruffles its feathers to get the water off. What would Liv do?
Liv 100% knows the bird is associated with...
Yeah. It's Wituz's bird for sure.
Yeah. Makes the connection. Does she have a spirit set on the bird? Does it have a plan?
Yep.
Does it have an intention?
Yep,
Great.
for sure.
Liv, yes, great. Liv is going to try to Okay, Liv is gonna start going over to the captain and all the people and being like, "I have so many shells. Do you want some? Do you want some?" And she's just
Ma'am, can you please
random, pulling seashells out, being like, "Oh,
restrain her! Someone get a set of handcuffs or a straitjacket or something."
This one is for luck, and this one is for
Medic, I told you she's hallucinating. Can you get an antipsychotic or something? And as you are doing so, the bird goes hopping into the pilot's cockpit, flaps up onto the back, like the back of the head of one of the pilots. He goes, hey, what's that? Get this thing off me. And starts pecking at the buttons on the display. As it does so, Liv feels two things. One, the ship lurches forwards and everyone screams. She goes falling into the captain, who barely manages to like stop her from crashing into the far wall as the two of them fall in a heap. And second of all, she feels her Enclave badge ping.
Bet. Liv pings the fuck out. She's like, great, going home.
And John, down below, you see that your shield wall lodges violently into the body of one of the hovercraft, which immediately starts to like float down, barely controlling its descent. The world around you becomes the outer space battlefield that you've been visualizing and remembering. And the other hovercraft, which John now perceives as an enemy vessel, is also starting to lurch forward wildly. In this state, he does not immediately feel the ping. What does he want to do?
I think this imagery would get him to fall to his knees, which is maybe kind of weird amidst the crowd. He will, like, this is not a crying man, but very much the singular tear rolling down both cheeks.
Yeah.
As I think this would make him feel that they have made it. They have run the barricade.
And, oh god, tell me if you're okay with this. Can I have the single tear hit the Enclave badge?
That's totally fine. Like, this man has no luck, but if you want to make this...
It just sounds
This
perfect.
is bad for the character because he likes to stay around and he would have liked to help the people, though he's not in any mind to think about that.
Exactly. That's
and I think
what
it's
I was
beautiful,
thinking.
yes.
And Wituz, your bird flies away. The people are hurried into the sluice. And John Soldiers say, should be all of them. Let's get back to Sinclair. And you need a handhold timer. No, I got him, says the youth under your arm. And what would Wituz like to do from here?
Go boy. I'll stay behind.
What do you mean you'll stay behind? You're practically naked and you look like you're going to die any second.
I have a way of escape. And he just sort of like raises his eyebrows and like gives him again a smile. This time a bit more like unhinged, I think, as he's pretty low on it.
And the boy says, "Stay in touch, all right? You're a hero. We don't want to abandon our heroes."
Will do. And I give him my hat to run forward with environmental protection as he's gonna run down the sewer.
And as soon as the boy passes into the sluice gate, say we've been using his age interchangeably. He's like a late teen, but he acts variably as late teenagers do. You would hear the careening crashing of the two airships, and you would feel your badge ping.
I'll do what I said. I chill a bit, and if someone comes in here and tries to look like they are going to go this way, and they are clearly not with the protesters, I'll just shout at them a little with my brave stuff until I collapse, and then ping out.
And as you do, you see a couple of straggler protesters rushing through, and then you see another hovercraft starting to try to converge, and you can see a great bubble forming underneath it, that it eventually drops on towards your canal, kind of like a bomb if it were made of water.
Hello! Can I help you?
As you say this to the bomb, as it is dropping towards you.
Sorry, I imagine, like, it's a bomb? I thought it's like the people...
Yes, before they dispense like a bubble with people inside, in this case, it's way higher up, and instead of having this like droplet that forms, it's literally just drops an enormous fucking ball of water. And I do kind of like the image of him kind of hallucinating, being like, "Hello!" Totally.
Wait, is that thing being dropped at me?
Yes! Towards the entrance of the sluice gate.
Okay, I sort of going to go like cover himself, Raven stuff up into the air, just whoo. But is that enough to like make it fly?
It doesn't fly away. Instead, it pops up above you. And imagine like the ball that is dropped towards you is like roughly the size of a small car in terms of its mass. Imagine when it pops, it dispenses like 50 times that much water, and all of it is dropping towards you.
Yeah, being out.
And on that note, we will end the mission. Jesus. Okay. Even amidst my technical difficulties, that ended up being pretty much exactly what I was hoping for. And who is Nars Enyd? Can you guess?
I don't think
I'm guessing the youth.
No.
Acid face woman.
That's the joke. There wasn't one. It's a title that can be exchanged between people, and the acid-faced woman was one of the people who could convey it. And so at the end of the mission, the youth was Nars Enyd.
I did it.
Yep, that was the message that she passed along.
It's so ridiculous to me that Wituz managed to encourage young men to become a revolutionary.
Indeed, yeah. And the thing was, every single one of these characters could have made the next Nars Enyd. All of these characters had the capacity to do so. In very different ways, admittedly. Do you guys have questions about the plot or calls that I made?
I have a singular question, which is going to be some nitpicky nerdy. If those hovercraft are suspended by pillars of water, does it suck if you stand beneath them? I would imagine horribly.
So what happens is that when they're high up in the air, it's just like extra rain, because by the time the water gets to you, it just like, it's all dissipated. That's why when they got low, it converted to kind of a mist vapor system. They have way less power, way less thrust, but they're not going to like fuck people directly below them. So good question. And that was something that I tried to package into the world building. Do you guys have any other questions?
No, that was fun. That was a pretty fun, great, and durable. So I'm happy.
Yeah, speaking of which, Wituz, I love this character so much. He is delightful. He's like your most normal person that you play.
Probably.
And
He's just a guy.
Not only is he like sweet and just like a nice guy, which is pleasant, unsurprisingly, from the creator of the Greybeard, you used the kit so fucking well. You started to, like, you used some combos that I was like, holy shit, I didn't... Like, Feathered Cap to give a command to Eye in the Sky from afar. So good. So good. That's so sick. And also, using the Weathered Cloak on the youth, I was like, holy shit, that youth is now Nars Enyd. That is potentially a mission success by itself if you just get him to hunker down. But you'd have to figure out it was him first who had been nominated. So, because it's a hideout. He could just chill. So that's also a sick play. But on top of that, your Great and Terribles were great. Winds of Change were all great. You picked up immediately how susceptible this setting was to Winds of Change, and it's mostly because, since I've never seen Wituz before, I was like, all right, let's give him something I know he can do something with. Yeah, that was fantastic. And you're right, the Orbiculum kind of fucked you, because, yeah, you break that checkpoint, and they just make 3 more. So, it was a good play. Yeah. But unfortunately,
I figured as much. My plan wasn't to have them people necessarily escape that way. I wanted to cause more and more distractions.
Yes, exactly. And going different directions was very important on this mission. Like, big distraction one place, get people out another place, that sort of thing. Also, on top of that, really good use of your intelligence stat. I let you do V2 intelligence on this because, like, we established it and I said, fuck it, because I prefer it. But really, really good use of, like, your intelligence stat. I thought that was fantastic. And Spirit Stat as well. Both really good. Next, Olivia. It's so fun seeing you try to convert to her new mindset, and you're like, why did my thing not work? So, bunch of things that you set up. First of all, you did a great infiltration on this one. Really, really tight infiltration, and then you're like, shit, what do I do to capitalize on it? Mm-hmm. Fortunately, at the very end, you were able to, like, combo with Wituz enough to, like, make it happen. But it was fun seeing you, like, get most of the way there and then be like, shit. If Liv was, like, 2 months ago real time, I could do all sorts of things up here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was sick.
Yeah, she was very mad because she knew exactly how to get there and had no idea how to finish.
Yep. I loved your flavor background stuff. I love the, like, pregnancy implications and how interesting it is for the character. It's kind of like playing an older character. Like, people are just nicer to you. Like, on average. Yeah, there's going to be exceptions, and it's going to suck when there's an exception, but on average, people are nicer to you, and you can make things happen with it. Familiar faces were both dope, and I thought that the backstory setup you had, and then, like, allowing it to become just like a terrorist set, like, that you associate with, that's great. Very, very clean infiltration. Perfecto. And lastly, John. This is among my favorite John missions, actually. Maybe my favorite. Your tactics were fantastic. Your social play was fantastic and understated. Every ability use was precisely on point. And on top of that, the kind of spaceship flashback thing was so cool. Like, I don't think I would have ever let you try to use a shield wall to cut something unless you were, like, doing precisely that sort of, like, blockade run. Oh, you know, push through, get through, shield, bash the distant enemy spaceship. That was sick. I was so sick. I think it's also maybe the first time I've ever seen John in Red Essence.
It's the second time he's ever been in Red Essence.
Yeah. And also, like, the combat play was great. The way that you were able to deal with the first hovercraft was so sick. That was so sick. Just beautifully done. I really, really enjoyed it. And I think it was a pretty much perfect showcase of his skill set. You really could have played either side of the conflict, like, without much effort. And it shows the versatility of the character and him at his best. Do you guys have thoughts about your own or each other's characters before we review focus words and sign off?
I thought that all of these 3 characters would work wonderfully together, which we kind of did, sure, but we didn't even get to meet each other after this. So
just fucked off.
That was so fun.
Immediately fucked off.
Doing their own thing.
Yeah.
Just the unspoken agreement, which is kind of what happens sometimes in agent groups.
Yeah, exactly. And these are all, like, reasonably seasoned agents. Lastly, focus words. We had heightened sense of disorder. I think that's pretty obvious. The one other thing the heightened sense of disorder came in with, though, is the fact that the Nars Enyd is a decentralized role. So even the riot's core is disordered as well. Upside Down Rain. That came in with the hydromancy, the setting, the weird nature of how like the metaphysics of the region were at play, and also especially the hovercraft. And lastly, Danny Crane. Danny Crane! It's the I am Spartacus thing. I don't know who Danny Crane is, so I was just like, sounds kind of like a Jason from Heavy Rain thing, which kind of played into one of the focus words as well. So I was like, oh, let's make him find things. And then, oh, I know, let's have like an I am Spartacus thing where every single protester will just say they are Nars and Enyd. So that's how I use those 3 focus words. Do you guys have any final questions or thoughts before we sign out? Beautiful. In that case, thank you guys so much for taking the time to play. It is always a pleasure to host for you, and I sincerely appreciate you hosting for Enclave Day. This was another record-setting Enclave Day, and a big part of it is because you took the time to host missions. So I really appreciate you doing so. And in the same order that you signed on, which is, I believe, Xela, Tomáš, Julian, feel free to sign off. Oh, fuck! Mission name! I'm dumb! Mission name! Thank you, Mary. In chat. Mission name. What do you guys think?
I had an idea that I actually like, but I got too much into character with Wituz and I forgot. I don't know.
If we don't have any specific options, I would propose the relatively basic I am Nars and Enyd.
Sure.
I was just gonna go Nars Anonymous.
That's actually not bad either. Yeah. Let's
No, I am Nars and Enyd.
Yeah, let's do I am Nars and Enyd. That works.
Yeah.
Nars Anonymous.
I also love that that's like a mission name, but it's an actual quote from Wituz.
Yes, exactly. That's what made me think of it. When you said it, I was like, oh yeah, that's a mission name. That sounds like one right now. All right, and now, again, Xela, Tomáš, Julian, if you would briefly sign off, we will bring this to a close.
I've been Xela. Y'all saw how Live Now plays. This was fun.
Alright. Fun playing with you all. Come play Enclave with us. You can play as a graybeard and you can be an old man shouting at people. It's fun. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's been very fun. I hope to see all of those watching someday. Come play Enclave. You can play a Thane, being a young man yelling at people. It's also very fun.
And with those words of wisdom ringing in our ears, my name is Robbie Howell. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch, and ciao for now.